Flashing lights, neon glow. Back when nights had a show. Horror tales, midnight fights. Living through those rapid nights. Garrett's tunes spin and play. Dead boys lead the way. VHS line the walls. Physical media calls. Oh, those rapid nights we love. Talking movies, feeling tough. Nostalgia in every bite. Dancing through that neon light. Every scream, every shout. Spooky tales, no doubt. Friends around laughing loud. We were young and feeling proud. Awful vibes in the air. Those days we did not care. Days and nights full of charm. Treasured moments arm in arm. Oh, those rapid nights we love. Talking movies, feeling tough. Nostalgia in every bite. Dancing through that neon light.
What is going on, everyone?
Yo.
Those rad pit nights we love, boys.
We
Talking
do love
movies and feeling tough.
feeling tough.
I'm excited. This is going to be a good show. It's going to be an amazing year full of just the best horror films that we've ever seen throughout the years, I think.
2004 horror.
Very,
movies.
very interesting year. I look at this list and I'm like, shit, man, I was hitting up the movies a lot. That's for damn sure. But that's a good nostalgia thing. It was like every weekend it seemed like there was something coming out, but were they all bangers? We'll have to see.
So welcome everybody. We've done a lot of these year in review shows, but this year in particular is kind of interesting because it was a special year, I think, for me and Uncle Bill. We talked about, Horror Find Weekend in 2004. That was our first horror convention. And it's going to be fun to go back and see what movies was released the same year, right? Was there anything that motivated us, got us into the genre on a mainstream level? Probably not, but we'll have to see. What do you think, Uncle Bill?
Yeah, I mean, this was kind of the culmination of everything that led to Dead Pit this year. That convention, going to the movie theater all the time, back at a time when, right at this time, things, in terms of mainstream movies, horror films weren't so great coming out. It wasn't until 2005 and on that like stuff was coming out all the time because they figured out like a particular formula that started to work. We'll talk more about that like as this show goes on too. But yeah, this is kind of like the formative years of Dead Pit, the formation of like everything that it would become, which is weird considering this year. But yeah.
Yeah, it's still hard for me to believe that 2004 was 20 years ago.
That is insane, dude. Like that is the part that I think really hits me hard when I'm looking at these movies and picturing myself like at the theater on opening night and this, that, and this, and be like, that was 20 years ago. Like, damn, dude, we're getting old. Like this, I wasn't a little kid just checking these out. Like I was already I was well out of high school at that point.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to think about that.
Time flies, they say.
I just now recently figured out that I was old by the fact I'm screaming at teenagers at a movie theater now. So that's kind of the first indication that old age is really upon me. Yeah.
Do you ever think to yourself when you guys were sitting in the theater together watching these things for the show and you're like doing the voices, like what that must have sounded like to other people like in the theater? Like, yeah, this shit sucks. Like,
This is bullshit.
yeah, like, doing
Yeah, that's really what was going on. Yeah.
people like, what the hell is going on here? Fuck you.
Let's hit up the chat though real quick and then we'll get started because we do have a lot of stuff to talk about. I don't know how much good stuff, how much bad stuff, how much ugly stuff there is, but we'll get into it here. Saturn Video's in the house. He's already mentioning Seed of Chucky. Oh yeah. We're going to be talking about that. He mentions a couple more here. Black Peter, Uncle Bill's favorite. What is up, my guys? 2004 is a year filled with some good, some real bad, and the year that, too much information here.
He just didn't see the end of that sentence.
Tape Rot Video.
What up, man?
Foz Rotten is in the
What up,
house. Too.
Fozzie?
Baby Faith Thompson, baby. Baby Faith Thompson.
Sounds like a damn gangster, bull.
Yeah, he's got a Tommy gun. He's busting in someplace. He's going to shoot him up. Babyface Thompson is. Dirk is in the house as well. What's going on, man?
Hey, Dirk.
Scratch Bueno. What's up, man?
Hey, Scratch.
Brandon Dvorak.
What up, Brandon?
Dawn of the Dead remake was dope, yo. The Witch Hunter.
What up?
The Mayor. If I've not mentioned him enough. And Rambo is in the house too. He wants to talk about the butterfly effect, which is interesting because I think that is the first. We're going to try to do chronologically as much as we can here. That's going to be the first movie that was on the list for 2004. It's technically a thriller / suspense film, but Ashton Kutcher starred in it, and I would have never, ever, ever watched it had it not been for word of mouth, people saying, oh, this movie is nuts. You got to check this out. Otherwise, I would have never, because Ashton Kutcher was in it, I would have never watched it.
Yeah, I like this movie a lot, actually. It was pretty different at the time. It was pretty risky at the time. I think it took a lot of chances, especially with Ashton being like the front lead in this movie because he was kind of over at the time, like with the stuff he was doing. So I love Butterfly Effect. He was over. Do you like that term I'm using here?
Wasn't he doing like Punked around this time?
Yeah. So
that was like, I mean, that was before we knew just how annoying Ashton Kutcher was. Like, everybody was kind of on board with him at that point.
Yeah, but man, this was a good movie. It was messed up. You know, I haven't watched it in quite a few years, but you know, now just talking about it, I'm like, man, I'd love to check this out again. And I don't know where this thing is. Like, is it on physical or is it only got the DVD? Like, I think I only have the DVD still.
I think I've got a Blu-ray of it. That may, It may be one of those very early Blu-rays, so I don't know how good it looks, but I think Butterfly Effect was one of those deals where they immediately came out with like generic, like direct to DVD sequels, and that kind of destroyed the franchise a little bit because Ashton Kutcher, you know, he wouldn't come back or anything. Isn't there a scene this though? This is the part that I remember being like, I almost kind of laughed, where like this is a time travel movie. There's different existences of his character. Isn't there one where he's like just got nubs? He don't have arms or legs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that part.
I'm gonna throw a name out to you that I hadn't thought about in forever until recently because she was in a bunch of early 2000s movies. Do you remember Amy Smart?
Yes.
She's in this movie. She's in Butterfly Effect, and she's also in Mirrors, I think.
Road
like
Trip, I think, was one that she was in.
Yeah, it was. She was cool. She was in Just Friends, which is another cool movie. But man, you know, like we talk about all the time, like shitting on Scream Factory for what they're releasing. I think if they got Butterfly Effect or something, like that would be a pretty cool, like little release for them to get. Because, like I said, I didn't even know it had a Blu-ray. If it does, it's got to be some kind of like old standard Blu-ray. But that's a movie that I feel like nobody really talks about anymore, and it kind of deserves a little bit more of a shout.
That's true. It wasn't very indicative of what was going on in mainstream films that time.
What the hell's Ashton Kutcher doing now? By the way, I was just wondering that.
I mean, he's got like he make like $1 billion or something crazy like that off some sort of it was investments or
Yeah, because he was on
company
that
or something.
show Shark Tank for a while. Remember, he was buying a lot of businesses on that show. He was like one of the investors. So I think he's fine now. Is he still with Demi Moore or now? Is that
He's
not?
with Mila? Wasn't he with Mila?
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. You're right.
Yeah,
the
him and
Moore
Demi
thing.
got divorced. But
I mean, I don't really keep up with shit like that well, but I'm pretty sure that Demi Moore is it Demi or Demi? I can never really figure that out.
who
She's
cares?
hot though,
Who
but
cares?
you know.
Yeah, she's still pretty good looking.
Did you
for
see her in
age.
that documentary? The
Yeah, the Brats.
Brats? Yeah. I was like,
Mhm,
Jesus
mhm.
Christ, well, she looks really good for
Yeah,
whatever.
I mean, 100%, dude. Like, I
Mhm.
mean, Jesus, you look at her. I mean, even in striptease, she was a little bit not older, but you know, she wasn't a kid. She wasn't like early 20s at the time.
Yeah.
She looked great there too.
Thank you, Carda, for the super chat. I'm sure we're going to be talking about the game here in a little bit. And no, I did not rewatch Blade Trinity. No,
Ain't nobody rewatching that. I guarantee you.
no. All right. So continuing on, Butterfly Effect, January the 23rd. That's normally a dead time for theatrical movies. I wonder if that was like a surprise for them to. But speaking of Mila Kunis, this was a video release on February the 19th. American Psycho 2,
Mm.
All American Girl.
Yeah.
Lionsgate, man.
I'm not going to tell you I don't own that movie, but I mean,
I own it too. Yeah.
yeah.
I can tell you I don't own it, so I'm pretty proud of myself.
You
right
sure?
now.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure. Why? Did you send it to me or something?
I think that was one of the early 588 movies or something, and that's how I got it. It was like really cheap.
Oh God! Yeah, I mean, I may
So
own it
you
on
may have
DVD
bought
out there somewhere. Yeah, at one point in time, but I know I've watched that movie a total of one time, and that was
I think I've watched it
plenty.
once or twice.
I think I watched it once. And I think what is she, like his sister or something? Is that what
I think
that was
so.
the plot or something?
And
That was the gimmick. Yeah,
This was set in
Yeah.
the early 90s, I think, just a couple of years after the original
Mhm.
movie. And very young Mila Kunis is in this. This is one of her, like, I think it might be her first role outside of that 70s show.
Yeah, didn't she play like a she played like I think a college student or something in this. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've watched it, but again, when we looked at 2004 before we did the show, we realized like where horror was at the time, and they were still relying heavily on remakes and sequels at this point. Like that's really where they were trying to kind of continue the genre, and you could see they were really reaching on some of this stuff. Some worked, but as we're going to see, some did not. And somebody asked if this was in the theater. I don't think so, but I don't know for a fact.
It just says it was a video release.
yeah.
on
It says
what I've got.
Lionsgate Home Entertainment, so I don't think it was ever released in the theater.
All right, so continuing on, let's see. One of the bigger releases that whole year, and a lot of people kind of would question why we would mention a movie like this on here, but this is an exploitation movie, right? It's the pure definition of an exploitation movie. Came out February the 19th, made, Jesus Christ, over $500 million. Because, you remember the gimmicks with this, guys, at least around here, churches were renting out theaters, different show. They were like, we'll buy every seat so our congregation can come and enjoy the Passion of the Christ in the movie theater.
Yeah, that's where I saw it. Like when I saw that movie, it was down there at the Strand, and there was a whole church that was in there that somebody had bust in. It wasn't a church from around here or anything like that. Like they bust in and rented out basically like the whole theater to watch it. And the only thing I can remember about watching that movie with all those people was like, man, like, I'm sure this is the first time a lot of these people have ever seen anything this explicit, because that movie is it's probably like one of the most violent films ever made around that time period.
In the
sure.
theater.
Yeah, that got like mainstream popular or anything like that. I mean, that's a tough movie to watch just on a general level.
That's the alternate title. Jesus gets the shit beat out of him. The movie. I remember, like, because I watched it with a church as well as
yes,
my.
wait. This, I don't know. This kills me. It's hostile with Jesus.
It like was a secret precursor to like what 2005 looked like, basically.
And like the movie goes on and on and on. It's like, is it like a 2-hour movie or something? Or it seemed like it. And like
it was a movie that everybody like went and watched, though. I do remember that. Like,
right.
Pretty much everybody around here went to the theater and saw it.
Yeah, and
should they do Scream Factory 4K?
I swear to God, man, it wouldn't surprise me.
Severin's gonna put it out in like a big bundle.
It's not a feel good movie or anything, but
it's not a feel good. No, I mean, I guess it's kind of is though, isn't it?
But look
in the end.
Well, yeah, there's redemption in the end. See?
That should be the fucking quote on the DVD. It's not really a feel good movie
until the end.
Not a feel good
like
movie.
Watching your Lord and Savior get beaten up for 2 hours. It's not great.
Well, it's like, I remember that I watched it with a church. My parents.
Did you walk in and you say, "Is this a feel good movie?" Or
this was hyped at the time, though. I don't know if you remember. Like, everybody was talking about this. And so after the movie, though, it's like 2 hours of just like the bloodiest, goriest beating you can imagine on film. And then the credits roll, and like the church audience is like, they have just witnessed a fucking like car wreck or something. They've been in something, right? And then the preacher gets up there and like tries to talk about how uplifted it is and everything. I'm like, buddy, this ain't the time.
Here's the really weird thing about that movie, though. So all those people are in there, right? And like they all brought like their kids, like little kids. Like there was families of people that came to see that. And it's like, I get why they're doing it, but like, isn't that like traumatic to take like kids into that where it's just hardcore like gore beatings and stuff like that? And
I would think so.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like that, you're not going to take people to see, like they would condemn like the Dawn of the Dead remake, but they'll, go into that and they'll be, okay with it. It didn't make any sense. Like that movie should have probably been really light on or a little bit lighter on the violence. I guess it was for impact though. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's not a movie I ever went back and watched again because.
Well, you don't want to watch it every Easter.
No.
You like break it out. You're like, all right, guys, I got a little feel good action for you. You pop it in.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah. So Passion of the Christ, technically, it's a very well made movie. The cinematography and everything looks like a painting. It looks like some of those old, like, paintings you'd see up in a church or something. But man, that's a tough one to watch.
It's a good one to bring up though on this show. There's nothing controversial about that.
Different for sure.
Yeah. Poor old Jim Caviezel in his career.
I mean, that had to have made a ton of money though. Right?
It did, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
it made, what did you say, like $500 million?
It's like 640 some billion or $1 million.
Yeah. It's right before Mel Gibson lost his mind too. This was right prior to that. A couple years later, he's screaming at people and calling people sugar tits, and it's a whole mess. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that movie, it took everything out of Mel Gibson. It did.
Yep. For sure. Yeah. He really set the stage.
He inspired Eli Roth.
Inspired the Saw. Come out later same year. Another one, and I was surprised. This is a Big Lot special right here, and I've seen this movie one time. I really don't remember it, but yeah, it did come out in theaters and made a grand total of $96,000 theatrically.
What?
Decoys. Uncle Bill, do y'all remember? You or Garrett remember Decoys?
I remember I have the DVD, but if you ask me what the hell it's about, I don't remember. It's like got that weird poster art. It says Decoys in like a strange font. It's like blue. It's like a blue.
Right. I think it's like a horror comedy or something like that, but I don't really recall. I know I've seen it because I've got the DVD and it's opened.
That was definitely, like you said, like a dollar store, Walmart bin DVD. That thing was everywhere.
So if anybody has anything to say about Decoys in the chat, let us know. The next big release, though, that was on February 27th, is one that's, I think we all saw this in the theater, and everybody was excited about it. It was a pretty big hit at the time, too. The Dawn of the Dead remake came out March the 19th. And a lot of people were kind of like, you got to remember, this was before the original Dawn of the Dead was really that well known, like mainstream wise. So it was almost like, this is just, it's not really cashing in on the name like a lot of the remakes do. I don't think.
I'm curious about what Garrett thinks about this movie, because I don't think we've ever really talked about it. Like,
yeah. Obviously I understand what Wes is saying is that for the average person, Dawn of the Dead wasn't a movie I don't think everybody knew. But obviously, if you were a horror fan like myself and you guys, like when you heard Dawn of the Dead remake, you knew exactly what this was going to be. To me, Dawn of the Dead is a huge name in the horror genre. But I don't know if that's just because we're in it, to the average moviegoer. So I was excited as hell because Dawn is my favorite Romero film. And I think it's yours too. UB for sure.
Yeah.
So, going into this, I was excited, but a little nervous. And I'm going to tell you, when I saw it for the first time, I really liked it a lot. I actually loved it. And I still like it, but I feel like the more and more I watch it, the less and less I like it now. Yeah. And I'm not saying it's bad. I actually think it's one of the better remakes we've ever gotten. It's just, I don't know, like I never really was a fan of running zombies. There's parts in it I like. I think my favorite part of the whole movie is the guy on the guy on the roof. When they were like, when they were picking people off and they were like calling them different celebrities and stuff. And they were like,
that is a great scene.
Like,
yeah.
That's
Burt
like my
Reynolds,
favorite scene in the movie still. Yeah. So, I think it's still good. I just think from what it was when I saw it and being absolutely infatuated with the remake, the more and more I watch it, I'm like, I like it, but it's not one I go back to on a regular. Like, I'll go back to the original.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, though, to me, it was something when I watched it, I liked it. But is it something that I ever want to go back and rewatch? No.
Well, for me, it's like, I think that has one of the best opening scenes of like any.
The credit sequence is really cool too. Johnny Cash or something.
The credit sequence, the first whole part where she's like comes home from the hospital and it all breaks out, and her boyfriend or whatever attacks her and all that shit. That's all amazing. And she's trying to get away, and they find like the little band of people, and she runs into them and all that. That's great. And the credit scene is amazing. The music's perfect. Where it gets really kind of like shitty is where they actually end up at the mall, and then those characters are not that great. And then the big woman,
big
zombie, the babies. It's got some really dated CG kind of effects in it too that make it like not stand up well. And especially like towards the end. So yeah, whenever I could sit down and watch the first half of that movie, but like I have no interest in watching the whole thing anymore. And it doesn't hold up. I think it ages really poorly too.
It's got that modern 2004 look to it.
Like filming look, right? Like
yeah.
It really feels like it was that time. And I was excited about like the ending kind of left you on a cliffhanger, and it did so well, and I felt like it was pretty popular that I was like, oh my god, they're setting up for a day for sure at the end. And we never really got that by him or anything else. Like I thought for sure that his next project was going to be a sequel to this in the Day of the Dead. And of course we'd had some Day of the Dead since then, but none that I think really connected this one, right? Because it kind of leaves it a little open-ended at the end for a sequel. And I agree with people in the chat. Personally, I think it's, in my opinion, Snyder's best, at least for someone like me, based on his other stuff. I still think this is my favorite thing that he's done.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was going to ask you guys what you think the best Zack Snyder movie is. I don't know a whole lot of Zack Snyder movies, to be honest.
We were just talking about this with Rambo. Rambo was talking about it recently. So he did 300. I know that was like his biggest film.
Fuck that shit.
Dawn of the Dead remake.
I thought Watchmen was good.
Yeah, what?
300.
I love Watchmen. Yeah, that's one of my favorite superhero movies. Like,
yeah,
any of them.
300 was all right. Like, I mean, it was different at the time. He did a movie, I think, Sucker Punch, which, I don't know, man. Like
bomb,
that Army of the Dead and shit he did. That was literally about like that was like my worst movie of the year that year. Remember we did like a review show on it. And then I don't really watch a lot of the superhero stuff. I thought Man of Steel was okay.
I fucking hated Man of Steel.
Yeah, I'd never those movies.
I couldn't get through Batman versus Superman.
Same.
Justice League, I didn't even attempt.
Oh no, I haven't. No, Batman vs Superman was not good. I thought Man of Steel was all right. I didn't see Justice League. I've never seen like any of those other superhero ones. So to me, it's got to be Dawn, man.
There's no way you liked Army of the Dead, Garrett. There's no fucking way you did.
Oh no, I hated it.
Good.
No, that was like, I think that was my worst movie of the year when it came out, 2020, whatever it was.
Army of the Dead was one of those movies though that had potential. It could have been something really cool, but they shit the bed. All right, continuing on though. I looking back at it though on the Zack Snyder thing, I think Watchmen might be my favorite movie of his.
It is to me, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a highly, and people either love or hate that movie. There's a lot of people that hate that film, but like, I think it's great.
Wasn't there like a flashback scene of like an alternate reality or something like that, and times changing the Bob Dylan song?
Yeah.
That's fucking great. That's great filmmaking right there. I don't know what happened to him that day, but that was some
I don't
good
either.
shit.
It doesn't even really seem like a Zack Snyder film when you watch it. It's like,
no,
it doesn't have any of the normal stuff it is.
Yeah. All right, but continuing on, April the 10th, and this was a video release, Tobe Hooper remade the Toolbox Murders. And I know Uncle Bill is a gigantic fan of this one with Angela Bettis.
Another film, I think, isn't Sherry Moon Zombie in it, like in the very beginning too? And she gets
is in.
I think so.
Yes,
she's in that one.
There's a sequel to this damn movie too. Now I'm getting confused.
Now a lot of people think this movie is underrated. I keep hearing like nowadays people bringing this up, but I'm like, as I recall, it's pretty much rated exactly where it needs to be.
Well,
like, it's not great.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't think the original Toolbox Murders is a good movie either. I think they're both kind of the same, I would say. Yeah. Both like, whatever.
I mean, I will say this. I have not watched the Toolbox Murders Tobe Hooper movie in many, many years. So it could be one I should go back to and watch. But I can remember when I watched it, I was kind of like, it didn't stick with me. I know that. But it is one that I probably should go back and check out again.
I agree. A lot of people are saying that everything's underrated.
Yeah. I feel like people are just grasping at straws sometimes to find something.
I'm clicking on all kinds of shit. Continuing
I can tell
on.
You this, like, I don't remember a whole hell of a lot about it. So, I mean, it can't be that underrated, or I would remember something about it other than Sherry Moon Zombie being in it.
Poor old Tobe Hooper, man. I mean, we all know how he was. He couldn't even hardly string together a sentence.
I swear to you, man, that's not a joke. I watched an interview with him and Freakin' recently that somebody just put up where it was Freakin' interviewing him for a showing
of theater or something like that.
Yeah, Texas Chainsaw. They were showing. I couldn't watch it because he could not get through a sentence. Like, I don't know what was going on in the later part of his life, but he was not able to string together a sentence.
Somebody was posting the interview that Friedkin did with Nicholas Winding Refn.
That's one of my favorites, man. Yeah.
Was that dude was like putting Drive with like Citizen Kane and what else was it? What
He said,
Wuthering
like-
Heights or something like that.
Yeah, he was like, he said something like he did another movie called Only God Forgives, and he's like, and that is a masterpiece, and I'm here to tell you that. And freaking goes, if that's a masterpiece, then what do you call Citizen Kane? He was like, it's good. Like,
Oh, God,
looks
was so pissed.
yeah, it was great.
Like,
He
somebody
goes-
call the medic. This man needs help.
It's one of the best interviews. If you like, just search it out and try to find it. It's a great interview.
The world needs more people that just don't give a shit, like William Friedkin.
There's another
He's
great
sorta
clip of
missed.
him too with our good buddy Mick Garris, where Mick Garris tries to say something like, well, so people have been saying this about your movie or something, and Freakin just leans back in his chair and goes, "Who's saying that?" And he's like, "People." And he's like, "No, who specifically is saying that?" It's just great. Like he just like rips him apart.
Because it's an easy way up. Some people said, who was
Yeah.
it?
And
funny.
Mick Garris looks like he's about 20 in that clip, so I don't know. Anyway, that's off topic.
All right. Going on April the 16th, Kill Bill Volume 2. I think this is, the consensus is this is, the worst of the two movies, or the least favorite.
I don't know,
of the
man.
two
I
movies.
don't either.
loved part 2. I loved this one. I thought it was a way better story than the first one was just fighting. I thought this one, I felt like it really tied everything together. I loved the second one.
This is another one where it has the opposite effect of Dawn of the Dead on me. You and I saw this at the theater, CK.
We saw both of them
yeah.
at the theater, yeah.
So like we were super hyped because we thought it was going to be like the first one, right? So
Mhm.
we get in there and it is what it is, much slower pace, like much more kind of intricate kind of movie. And we both fucking hated it. Like we were like, I remember that.
I don't
sure.
think I've ever rewatched it, to be honest with you.
I watched it a couple of times since then, but it's one of those movies where like it has the opposite effect. It grows on you. Like you start to like figure out more what he was trying to do. It's just so jolting that those two movies are together because they're completely opposite. The pacing is completely opposite. Like one is just balls to the wall action scenes, and the other one is like a slow burn type of like.
Volume 2 is far superior. Yeah, whatever.
I think it is
Alpha.
better. I think it's better than part 1. I mean, again, I think it, like you said, it's so different. I think it's what people's preference are. Like I would rather have a slower burn, better story than just action and just with not as much substance, I guess. So I always like this one better. But when you put them two together, I think it works perfectly with each other.
Yeah. I mean, I like Volume 1 because it reminds me of like a Golden Harvest film where there's just fight scenes upon fight scenes for
It's a
no
lot of
reason.
fun, yeah.
Like, yeah, shit's just like going on, especially at the
Blood
end.
spraying everywhere and all that.
But the second one has some really memorable scenes. Like the scene with anything towards the end with Bill is great, which is really weird that Carradine was that good at that time. Because some people just kind of forget how to act, I've noticed. And the
The
stuff with
buried
Bud,
alive scene was pretty cool.
the stuff with Bud and the buried alive stuff, yeah.
Somebody said, Saturn said, the whole bloody fair. I've been wanting to see this cut forever. I hear about it, and it's always like, yeah, we're gonna get it, put on a physical media disc. I mean, I've been waiting for that for 20 years probably now, or a little less than that.
There's a bootleg version of it out that you can get. I don't know why, like,
dude. I mean, that's like a one of those grails that I really really want.
I think at some point in time it will come out, but like Tarantino's very like anal about his movies, right? How many 4Ks are out there of his movies? Not very many, I don't think.
I don't
other
even
than
know,
newer ones.
really.
Yeah.
Hmm.
This is another one though that's Uncle Bill and I'm pretty sure we saw this in a theater. I know I did. I think you were with me. And this is a good example of just random like thriller / maybe horror. Because it's kind of like a Killer Kids movie too. Godsend with Robert De Niro and Greg Kinnear and Rebecca Romaine.
We did see that, didn't we?
We saw it in theater, yeah.
I'll be damned if I can remember anything about it. What is the
Well,
premise of that movie?
The Greg Kinnear and I think Rebecca Romaine are married in a movie, and their son passes away, and through cloning, they bring him back.
Oh, that's right. And
But there's something wrong with
it. Is De Niro like the doctor or
De
something?
Niro's the doctor, yeah.
I do remember that now. God.
Did you ever see that one, Garrett?
Oh.
Yeah, I did see it. A long time ago. I have the DVD, but I feel like there was a lot of movies around this time that were like very not, similar. Like you started to
Right.
get a lot more of these main actors like popping up into these like small little like kind of horror thriller movies, during this time. And I just think I feel like I'm getting that one confused with other ones that was involving like a son or whatever. But I don't remember disliking it. I definitely did see it in the theater, but to me, it was one of those ones that just kind of felt like something I've seen before. But again, I don't have enough to.
De Niro kind of go
about it.
crazy at the end of it too, and he's like the evil
Little bit.
mastermind.
A little bit crazy. Yep.
De Niro was in a lot of shit around this time period. He was in like another. Wasn't he in another movie with Dakota Fanning or something like that? Another.
That's what I'm like
thriller movie?
thinking.
Yeah.
Like that's what I might be like getting it confused with. I'm trying to think what that one was called. If someone in the chat knows, but Rambo, what's up, Rambo? Arrow would. I think you're 100% right. I think.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
Arrow would definitely do it.
that would be
Hey,
killer.
Blissful.
Hide and
Yeah.
seek.
Hide and seek. Yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah, that's.
I think we saw that in the
exactly
theater
Yeah.
too. If I'm not mistaken. All right, now, so this brings us to one of the biggest movies the entire year. And I've never seen this movie, and I never plan on seeing it because I've always thought that it looked like a big turd. And if it's out in 4K, though, it might be worth just to see how it's like a train wreck, right? Van Helsing with
Fuck.
Hugh Jackman.
I remember watching this right when it first came out, and the only thing I was thinking when I was watching it is like, there's way too much shit going on in this movie. Like I was just overwhelmed by the amount of stuff that was happening. Like way too much CG, way too much like action stuff, constantly bombarding you in the head, and like I didn't like it. I never went back and watched it again.
Not too many people did like it, I don't think.
It was around that time, like I think Underworld had come out not too long before, maybe. So it was like it kind of felt like in the same realm as that. And when I saw it in the theaters, I was like, nah, not my thing. So I really haven't watched it since then. And what's the funny story about that is Mel's really excited about this new Crow movie a lot. Like she loves
Oh,
that
God.
dude who's in it.
It's
Like,
not
she
getting
loves
good
the guy.
early reviews, right?
No, she knows. So she's like, I think she's actually there right now, I think, trying to watch it. But so she's been all excited about this. And they released a poster a couple weeks ago, which was like one of the most god awful posters I've ever seen. It was like him back to back with like a sword and a girl or whatever. It kind of reminded me of like, remember when Halloween Ends came out or whatever it was? It was like, looked like a buddy cop movie because like, it was him and her back to back, whatever.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing. And I go, what an awful poster. She goes, you don't like it? I go, no, it looks like fucking Van Helsing or something like that. So she goes, so she heard me. I said that to her. So what does she do? She goes and watches Van Helsing to see if she likes it. And she comes back. She goes, why the hell would you ever? I just said, I didn't recommend it to you. She goes, that was one of the biggest pieces of shit. She goes, that was one of the biggest pieces of shit I've ever seen in my life. I was like,
I mean, she's not wrong. Yeah.
That's just like
it was too CGI heavy for me. I can't do it. I just can't.
yeah, that's with me. It's like just I don't know, one of those big stupid Hollywood action movies.
Well, that's the thing. Is there anything worse though than CGI back around that time? Because it was like so bad at that era, and they used it so much in films. Like, and it just nowadays it just looks awful.
I am interested in is some of these movies like Van Helsing, if they get a 4K release, to just see how freaking terrible those effects look in 4K. I think that would be kind of fun, maybe.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
What is it?
Rambo's asking you something, Garrett.
Oh shit.
Truman Show is better than Van Helsing. Yes. 100%. 100%.
At least we got that. Fast forward and no, May the 18th. And this one came out, I think, originally overseas in France or whatever. in 2020 or 2004. And we reviewed it shortly after we started the show. I went back and looked because I remember us watching this. But the French horror boom had just kind of started. High Tension had come out earlier, I think 2003. May have been 2004 in the U.S. I'm not sure, but I think originally 2003. Calvaire, The Ordeal came out. You remember this one, Uncle Bill?
I hate that movie. I hate that movie. I'll always hate that movie. They just re-released it on some sort of big something, and I'm just like, I have not any interest at all in watching that film again.
Well, I recall a lot of the French horror stuff is like there's heavy gore in it. I don't remember gore in this. This is almost like a French psychological thriller, almost like a Misery or something.
Yeah,
but not as good, of course.
I don't even know what that is, so I never saw it.
It's Calvaire, The Ordeal, man.
You don't know about Calvaire, The Ordeal?
No.
Shit.
Wait, is it Calvaire?
Yes.
I remember. I fucking probably have the, but I remember like the DVD art and or whatever. I remember that, but I don't think I've ever seen it.
See, like, that's how it works, like, everywhere. In theaters, home video, or whatever. So, like, High Tension was a gigantic success, evidently. And here come, like, I don't want to say they're rip-offs or anything, but it's just more French stuff. Like, oh, let's give them some more French shit.
Here, I'll put he wants to poster some of these. You want me to start doing that shit or not?
Who is Mr. French?
What?
Put up all the artwork?
You can
just screen share this some of his shit.
They're calling you about the posters.
Calvaire, The Ordeal.
Let's see what
yeah,
you
this
got.
This poster is like memorable to me for some reason, but the movie is not.
I think Tartan did the DVD. It was one of the very few that wasn't an Asian movie.
Y'all remember this? Y'all ready for this?
Oh yes, I do remember.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That is a horrible film, but
I think
a
I
good
still
poster.
I think I still have the DVD of that somewhere. Lost somewhere in time. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I swear to you, though, I remember that it's something about, it's one of those psychological thrillers where a guy breaks down somewhere and he gets taken in by like an
in the
innkeeper,
French countryside again.
and then the guy turns out to be insane. It's just one of those type of movies, but it's very slow and very shitty.
What I did is, because I can't, these French horror movies, man, like there's just so many of them. I can't remember which one's which, but I went on the Dead Pit Patreon page and just searched for it. And 18 years ago is when we did the review, in 2006. And I do kind of remember it, but yeah, I mean, it's a one-time watch. I don't think it's anything that I would recommend any of you guys picking up, especially if there's a big deluxe version that recently came out.
Yep.
Just stream it somewhere or something.
Me and you don't like to read, so it doesn't work for us, brother.
That's true. All right, continuing on. This was another one that Uncle Bill and I saw in theaters. The interesting thing about this is a disaster picture.
Oh, God.
And do you remember this, Uncle Bill? The day that we went there in the theater, there was like this massive, I guess it was a rainstorm, thunderstorm, flooding, and all this shit that happened that night. Wasn't it that, or was it a tornado? I can't remember.
Tornado, I think.
But it never did touch down or anything, but it was like a big thing. But anyway, Day After Tomorrow came out. This movie sucks, by the way. I thought it did. Like Day After Tomorrow, like when it comes, and to be fair, disaster movies I don't like. I don't give a shit about them. There's none of them that I like, really. But this one, man, made a ton of money. It is unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm not a... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I actually watched this recently. I don't know why, but I just got like into a mood to watch it or something. And like, it is truly truly horrible. Yeah. And the problem why it's horrible, it starts off really good. There's like a lot of effects and stuff like that. And then everybody ends up in a fucking library for like an hour while all this stuff is going on outside. And Dennis Quaid's trying to get back to Jake Gyllenhaal. By the way, Jake Gyllenhaal's in it. So that's another big problem with it.
Is his sister in it? I can't remember.
I don't think so, but like it just slows down to like a crawl in the middle of the film and then never really picks back up, which is it's brutal to watch now.
I'm not a big disaster fan movie in general, so it didn't work for me. I saw it that one time. I felt like it was just very, again, heavy CGI. And it's just not, disaster movies are just not anything I care about. I don't know if it's too like it could happen type shit that it's kind of like, yeah, I don't want to watch this. But I was never a fan of any of that stuff really. Like, I mean, I like some of the older school stuff like Earthquake and stuff like that. Like, but you know, I'm not into like even Twister. Like I was really never a fan of that, even when I saw it for the first time. But I know that seems like a lot of people are really digging that movie now that it's gotten a recent release. You know, there's a lot of love for it where it just never, those kind of movies never did it for me, and neither did this one. So I saw it once and never really went back to it.
Yeah, these don't work for me either, brother.
Oh,
Continuing on, I mean, this is not horror at all, but it does feature the return of the Wolfman from the Monster Squad. You remember Napoleon Dynamite came out that year.
What?
Is that what we're talking about right now?
How are we on this shit?
I just thought it'd be fun to mention it because I love fucking Napoleon Dynamite.
I love Napoleon Dynamite.
Who doesn't love that movie though? That movie's like,
I absolutely love it. So yeah.
It's like it exists in like a vacuum. Like there's no other movie like it, and it just is totally unique.
Anybody with half of a sense of humor I don't understand how somebody couldn't enjoy it. It's just so goofy and stupid. Like, yeah, like you said, there's nothing else really like it. But who was it? The Uncle Rico was.
Yeah.
He would throw. What did he throw? A fucking steak
football.
Or something?
Oh, the steak, yeah, and the football. No, he always ate steak, and then football. Well, did you hear about the funny stories? That dude actually hates steak, like in real life. So if you notice, as he's eating it throughout the movie, he keeps wiping his mouth with a towel, but he's really spitting the pieces in there because he couldn't take it.
Sense.
Yeah.
Oh, he must be a vegan or something, maybe. Oh.
Yeah, it's a great movie. Like, you know, can't find my checkbook. Guess I'll pay in change. Over there, the Arrowhead.
That fucking old guy, in the farm or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't find my checkbook.
What are they eating? They're eating like egg sandwiches or something.
Egg sandwiches, like egg
They're
salad.
feeding.
That's a real guy. That's just some dude, and that's a real conversation that he was having
over there.
About the arrowheads.
Arrowhead.
That was not like planned. That was just something they recorded of him talking about arrowheads and shit in the field.
What does he feed the llama? Tina?
It was nachos
ham.
Or something.
Ham.
What was it?
Wasn't it?
Was it ham?
Eat your ham, Tina.
Tina, you fat lord.
Eat your ham. We should do a watch along of that. That'd be so different.
I'd be down, man.
I haven't seen it, and I actually haven't watched that movie in probably. It could have been 10 years, man, since I've seen it the last time. But it's just like you said, it's one of those movies that's like it's ingrained in your brain, you know?
Yeah. And the funny thing is it's like independently made, pretty much no budget. I mean, I don't know what the budget was for it, but it made almost $50 million in the US. So it's a big money maker for sure. But anyway, another one that I wanted to mention that's not technically horror, but it's a funny fucking documentary. Metallica, Some Kind of Monster came out that year.
You just pull a shit out of your ass at this point. This ain't got nothing to do with horror films.
I'm just going through this
the word
stuff.
Monster in the title doesn't mean it's got like
James Hetfield was a monster in this movie.
That is the end of a band. That is, well, let me put it this way. That they documented the end of a band as we knew it at that time. So like,
well, this was during the making of like the shittiest album that they ever made, Saint Anger or something like that.
I think this was probably when I stopped listening to Metallica. I think the last album I ever bought from them was Reload. So whenever that came out, I think that was it. Like I bought that S&M one that they did with like the orchestra and all that stuff. I bought that, but that's it. I didn't buy anything, nor have I ever listened to anything after that album.
I'll never forget this either, as long as I live. Like I remember, what did you say, like 2004? This was so like it seems like it was earlier than that, but it wasn't, I guess. Like I remember going over this girl's house at that time, and she was like, "Holy shit, dude! Like I've got something for you to listen to. Like this is fucking awesome." And I really, like you, I hadn't really like listened to Metallica since Reload, because that basically killed it for me. Like those two albums.
Right.
At that time period, everybody was like on to them about selling out and all that. And anyway, it's just a whole big thing. But so that album comes out, and she's like, she starts blasting it. I'm like sitting there, and it's just these long ass winding songs. I'm just like, this sounds like shit. Like, I mean, it's like when you put that album on, you immediately notice how bad it sounds just from a musical level, like the snare drum and all that, and the guitars really too. It just sounds awful. And I was just like being tortured to death.
Well, I mean, that's a pretty cool story, though, if you think about it. Like, UB dumps chick over Saint Anger.
Have you guys heard?
Insane. That makes sense. Like, I mean, for her to like that, yeah.
It's over. You like this? All right, you're out of here.
I think the song was "The Memory Remains," but they made another song out of it. Have you guys heard it?
Is it like The Memory Remains 2, like The Unforgiven 2? You
no, like it's a meme. People are making fun of Metallica. You know what I'm talking about?
No,
I don't know. I don't listen to Metallica anymore.
It's not Metallica. It's people making fun of Metallica.
Oh.
I don't think I should play it. I think people are probably not.
I just remember like that watching Lars and James Hetfield scream at each other, and they had a therapist there with them like through the whole recording of it, and the therapist was like trying to talk sense into him. It's like, how did we go from Kill 'Em All to this? Like, how did this happen?
It's unbelievable.
They got too much money.
Like Load's the turning point, I think, in the band. But Load, I don't know if I was just the right place at the right time, but I didn't mind Load. Reload, I hated, and that was kind of it for me. But everything before that, man, is still works, you know, and it's just crazy to see how much they've changed. And even when you go see them live now, I think they play still a lot of that earliest stuff, mostly because that's what everybody loved. So did they
first 5 albums
back to that, and did it work? I don't think so.
You mean Insane Anger? Or do you mean just in general?
Like in general, like they weren't they just didn't feel like the same band after Load came out going forward. But did they ever try to, like, you know, some bands will like look back and be like, let's go back to our original sound. Like, have they tried to do that again with an album and be like, hey, like I want to make it sound like Master of Puppets, and let's work.
I feel like they've tried to do that several times. Like Hardwired for Self-Destruct is like one that's kind of like that, where they're trying to do that, but they just don't. They can't do it. I don't know what it is.
They're not inspired, is what it is. I mean, it happens with a lot of bands, like even Black Sabbath. The original Black Sabbath was only around for what? It was less than 10 years. And even the last 2 or 3 albums that they had sucked together. So, but, anyway, moving on.
I don't know. I think that you're right, though. The worst thing that happened to them was success. Like when they did the Black Album after that, they were just like, well, we can do anything. We can, you know, crank out just whatever we want and people will buy it. And they did, but I mean, they never really cared as much. And there's a whole thing on the internet about nowadays how fucking lazy Lars is. And you can look at clip after clip of him in concerts. He doesn't care at all. He's not playing these songs remotely like that anymore. Yeah.
Oh, no. All right. On July the 23rd, I guess in preparation for the remake, which was coming out this same year, this was the Japanese version, Ju-On the Grudge. Did come out theatrically. It didn't do very well. Asian horror was a big thing around this time period. Me and Uncle Bill know this because not long after we started doing the Dead Pit show, man, one of the first companies that we got screeners from was Tartan Asia Extreme. And I shit you not, guys, on a monthly basis, what would you say, Uncle Bill? At least 5 or 6 titles every month.
Oh yeah. So many titles that like there's no way we could have watched them all, and they all sucked. I don't remember one of those being good either. Like I don't remember sitting down and being like, "Oh, this is a great Tarnation film."
Well,
That never happened.
the Vengeance trilogy, those are the only ones that I kind of liked.
Was that part of that? I didn't even know that
yeah.
was part of that at the time. Well, yeah,
those,
then
those are pretty good.
That is, yeah.
But just, I mean, I guess like everyone was into this sort of thing. Did you ever get into the Asian horror stuff, the J horror stuff?
I did, but it was because of the remakes that came out. Like when Ring came out, I freaking loved it. I saw it in theater. It was like nothing I've ever seen before. And then obviously the Grudge, I loved that too. So that got me to go back and try to find, the movies that inspired these or these were remakes of. So, I did check out Ringu. I did check out Ju-on, and I liked them. And is the Grudge this year too, like later?
Mm-hmm.
Same year?
Yeah, I think it was in the fall. Yeah.
So we'll talk about that. But yeah, I liked both of them. So yeah, I didn't get too heavy into a lot of the stuff afterwards. Like I checked out Audition and all this stuff, which I really like a lot. But I didn't get too deep into that.
Rambo, I don't think we reviewed all of them. There was a lady that we sent a lot of them to that would do written reviews for us, but we never said stop sending these to anything. I don't think, did we, Uncle Bill?
No, I mean the packaging on those were amazing for that time period. It was kind of like the precursor to all this crap you see now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I mean, we just kept getting them, even though we detested.
Yeah, they were in like a slip case, really thick. I think it was like embossed or something too, like really nice for that time period. But
yep.
Continuing on though, this was another pretty huge hit. Came out August the 6th. Another Lionsgate. I think Lionsgate at this time was buying up all kinds of independent movies. Open Water came out August the 6th. Very independent film, but a great idea for a movie. And I really, really liked this movie a lot.
Yeah,
I
agree.
Because it was real. I mean, it was really based on like a true story, number one, but also like you could totally see that happening. I still remember that whole thing for some reason because it affected me in a weird way. I hate shit like that anyway.
Yeah.
The idea like that these scuba divers, they go out on this, little trip out into the middle of the ocean and they get down in the water and they're a little bit far away from the boat. And then the guy miscounts like how many people are on there and just fucking leaves them. And they're just floating around out there. It's a couple. And sharks and stuff start like coming in,
swarming around them.
That's as an effective an idea to be terrifying as I can think of.
And it puts you really in the perspective of the couple in the water, really.
Yeah.
It is, a lot of it is almost like handheld footage, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that? Yep. I always want to, but this movie's I really love this movie a lot, actually. I haven't seen it in a while, but I like it. The sequel, Open Water 2. Do you guys remember that one?
Yeah, no. It was kind of a big mess, I thought.
Isn't that the
one?
Tried
to, it almost reminded me of like how Blair Witch and Blair Witch 2 were. Like it kind of felt to me like the same kind of idea where it's like they kind of tried to market it as the same, but it wasn't the same. But that's Open Water, I think, to me was effective in a similar way Blair Witch was. Like you knew it, like kind of, you weren't sure if it was real or not. Like it was just the way it was done was really, really good. I thought it keeps you on the edge of the seat. It's a pretty tense movie, but yeah, the sequel just did not work.
Wasn't it the deal with the sequel? There was like a bunch of teenagers or young adults.
It was like, it's almost like they wanted to take the first one and give it steroids a little bit. Like there was too much going on, like instead of it kind of being like that two people in water and then nothing around, like this one was kind of like they tried to make it a little bit too much going on. I feel like
it's kind of funny though, because like the deal with this one is the boat didn't get away from them, but they all jumped out in the water and they couldn't get back in the boat. Wasn't that the deal? Like everybody was in the water.
I don't remember a lot of people.
I will tell you a good movie that's incredibly similar to this movie, though, is that one with Blake Lively where she's stuck on the rock. What is the name of that?
Shallows, I think it's called. No,
Shallow Water.
Shallows, I
Shallows,
think, yeah.
the Shallows, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually, I thought, pretty good. Same kind of premise. It's better when these films try to keep it simple. Like, if they don't add a bunch of stupid shit, and it's just like one person and they're in this predicament, and like it's like they have to figure out a way to get out of it or to survive. But they muddy it up with like a bunch of bullshit
Well,
usually.
The thing that people don't remember, though, about this time period, too, which, we may be doing a separate show on the physical media aspects of this later on, but physical media game was way different than two in that Lionsgate was one of those companies that was cranking these cheapo sequels out, putting them on DVD, doing them for very, very low budget. I mean, that American Psycho 2 is one that comes to mind. It looks like that was like a PBS movie or something. It's fucking cheap looking. But that was a big part of their income around that time period. People were going to the video stores still in 2004 and renting, they wanted a cheesy horror movie. Well, Lionsgate's got their hookup.
Holla, if you hear me. Yep.
August the 13th was this one of Rambo Raff's favorite movies of all time. Alien versus Predator. Uncle Bill.
This is Paul W.S. Anderson, right?
Of course.
He's the genius behind this film.
Mm-hmm.
That fucking movie weighed $172 million.
I guarantee it, yeah. I mean, it's got a great idea. It's just the execution of it was awful. Rambo could do a whole thesis about this movie. I've never watched it again. I don't ever want to watch it again. But I think they did a actual commentary over it recently. God.
I couldn't.
Damn.
I don't want to watch that movie ever again, man. I don't own it. I don't want to own it. I don't even own it digitally. I never want to see it.
Yep.
What about you, Garrett?
I remember seeing it in the theaters and not liking it. But I haven't seen it since. So, I mean, I don't remember. I just remember, I'm trying to think what it was. Was that when they were starting to introduce I don't know. I think the multiple predator thing always kind of threw me off a little bit because I always imagined predators, from the first one, it just, having, was there multiple alien? I forget how it goes, but it was in the ice, right? In the snow.
You got me. I can't. Yeah.
I don't know. It was always a little bit off to me, that whole thing. But I remember there was a game, and that's why I was excited because I used to like the game when I was a kid. Like they had Alien vs Predator and they had Terminator vs RoboCop, and I was always like, man, these would be great movies. And it finally came out.
It was a comic book originally, right? Wasn't the comic books where all that came from?
It could have been, yeah.
I remember the RoboCop versus Terminator game because on a Super Nintendo, that was the only Super Nintendo game that was in a plastic case. Do you guys remember that?
I never had Super Nintendo.
What?
No, that's the only big main system that I never owned ever. And my brother used to always say, he still says that was a bad decision because that's one of the best systems of all time.
For sure.
Because we chose Genesis as kids. We had a choice. It was for Christmas. You want Genesis or do you want Super Nintendo? We were Nintendo kids, so we were and then my neighbor's I'm getting Genesis. We'll get Genesis so we can trade games. And
Genesis had the cooler commercials back then. It made it seem like Genesis was cooler or whatever.
That's what won us over, though. We do it Nintendo and all that other shit. So really won us over. But Terminator vs. RoboCop was bloody as shit for Genesis back in the day.
Yeah, I think Sega didn't really censor any of their stuff either. Although the graphics on the Sega look like shit compared to the Super Nintendo most of the time. Anyway.
Last processing. I remember that.
Trick or Treat, some bitch. You guys want to mention that real quick? I'm not going to talk about the details behind it, but is it coming out before Halloween?
I have no idea.
The pre-order will be out before Halloween. I'll tell you that.
But is it coming out before Halloween?
Put it this way.
Had to put a pre-order up, or Slippy's going to have to he's going to have to hire a bodyguard or something.
I'm just going to pull a Tom Atkins on this. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. Who's to
Here's
say?
the thing: it's coming. It's coming. Which again, I don't think. I understand people are going to be upset if it doesn't get here by Halloween, but no one's going to not buy it. Honestly, is anybody going to be that like, oh, didn't come to Halloween, I'll never purchase this? I doubt it. So, I mean, is it annoying? Sure. Do I feel bad for Slippy? Sure, because this is his first big major release for his company, and you know, I'm sure it's a little bit more work than he was anticipating. And you know what, having one of your first releases be a title that everybody's wanted for so long, and he's the one who had it, and he's putting all this time into it. I kind of feel for him because I get it, but at the same time, like, man, think about if he put it out and there was a lot that he wanted to do that he didn't do because he rushed it. I don't know. Like, I kind of feel like I trust the process because I know he's going to try to make this thing as perfect as he can. So if he's waiting on certain things or people to call him back to get something in, I don't want him to regret it at the end of the day and then re-release it with like different stuff on it because he got more, right? Like, so I'm okay waiting. I'm not in a huge rush. There's going to be tons of shit to come out by Halloween, but I understand from everybody's perspective on, you know, to not promise something you can't deliver. I get it. Right. So like I said about David Gordon Green, finish the story.
Finish the fucking story. That should be, you got to make that into a shirt, Garrett. Seriously.
Well, the truth is too, like, things happen. I mean, we joke with Slippy a lot and poke fun and everything here and there, but man, like, you know that this is bothering him for sure. So
yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like shit like that happens. We pushed it for a while there with him because we just thought it was funny and like it was actually going to work out and everything. But I think at this point, it's like kicking somebody when they're down. I don't think we should fuck with it anymore. I mean, Slippy's a good dude. He's always been good to us. It'll come out at some point.
He donated your laptop fund.
Yeah, I really don't.
He is not going to. It's coming, right? So it's not. It's going to happen. It's just. Maybe everybody has to wait a little bit longer, but I get it because I think he just kind of bit off more than he can chew. I mean, I think, you know, putting features on something and giving it to somebody else to take care of, but when you're distributing it and you're doing all the stuff, I mean, it's probably a lot more than he anticipated. And I don't know, it'll be here this year, put it that way.
Yeah. So good luck, Sleepy.
Scoopy. Said his new name.
Scoopy.
Somebody mentioned the trick or treat commentary. Well, we do have a baller and shot caller spot open on Dead Pit on Patreon. If you want to request that, go for it.
That's right.
Trick or treat, son bitch. This is a doozy right here, boys. August, the summer of shit is what they called the summer of 2004.
Okay. I'm ready.
Jesus Christ. Exorcist, the beginning.
Woo! I ain't even gonna bother looking up a pic for that.
Oh, God, that's so bad.
Melatonin, the movie.
Yeah.
Alternate title.
Didn't we watch these recently for
so if you want to know our real thoughts on this, go watch our Exorcist. We rank and review all the movies. We go through the whole timeline and we had to rewatch all these suckers, remember?
Yeah, I don't even want to talk about these.
That was bad.
So go check that out.
There's two versions of this movie and both of them are over 2 hours long and they're two totally different movies and they both suck. But if you want to hear the details, go check out the Exorcist show that we did. But yeah, that movie they're making big money, man. $43 million somehow. It did. I didn't think it would do that good. Another one, Summer Shit Continues, boys. And this movie made over $70 million. Anaconda, The Hunt for the Blood Orchid.
Hell yeah. I've never seen it, thank God.
Like, is that a sequel?
Yeah.
Yes, that's a sequel.
And it made that much money?
70.
Did it make that? That is kind of crazy.
Million.
How much did the first one make? Do you know?
The first one was huge, a huge hit.
Well, you got to think the first one, what year was the first one? Like 96 or 97?
I mean, I remember being a hit, but I think I was just a little too young to really understand like how big of a hit it was. Like, you know, because we're talking about things like Congo and shit that we were used to that felt like these big blockbusters. Anaconda kind of didn't, to me, it didn't feel as big, but maybe it was.
Woo! Woo!
That made all that money. People?
Wow.
What? What?
Who are those people? I don't know any of them. Can you look the cast up?
Yeah.
I feel like some of those people I've seen before. I just can't picture where.
Is that
This
Tay
movie-
Diggs?
This movie made $70 million. I don't know a single person in this cast.
That's Tay Diggs' brother, Bray Diggs.
Let's see. Anaconda, The Hunt for the Blood Orchid cast. That'll be great.
Yeah, look
It
that up.
has in the cast Morris Chestnut.
Who?
Morris Chestnut is the lead actor.
Morris.
Katie
Mo
Strickland.
Chestnut.
Yeah. Matthew Marsden, Eugene Bird, Nicholas Gonzalez, and Johnny. I've never heard of any of these people. Oh my God! It was directed by Dwight Little, the guy that directed Halloween 4. Directed this movie.
Oh, Dwight Peebles.
What
was the? I wonder what the budget was for Anacondas 2. It couldn't have been much. Look at them.
Oh my God!
jabronis.
That's how I know that guy. They're right. That's the guy from Boys in the Hood.
Who was he in Boys in the Hood?
He was the guy, the lead guy that gets shot. I'm pretty sure.
Mo Chestnut was.
I think I don't know. One of those guys, Ricky. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I don't know what his actual name is, but yeah,
I thought it was Bray Diggs. I didn't know.
Brady. Is that Bray Wyatt?
Well, that's Tay Diggs' brother, Bray.
Oh, Bray
Diggs.
Diggs.
All right, yeah. Anaconda's The Hunt for the Blood Orchid. That's a surprise right there. $70.3 million. I don't think I've ever watched it either, because to be honest with you, I don't even really like the first Anaconda movie.
Look here. John Voight is a genius in that movie.
Jennifer Lopez was. I was getting ready to do the South Park impression of Jennifer Lopez, but I was like, hey, that hasn't aged that well. Probably shouldn't do that.
No, probably not. That's a weird. You talk about a weird cast. Eric Stoltz is in the first movie. Jennifer Lopez, John Voight, and Ice Cube.
Ice Cube's the star, the doughboy. Yeah. Oh, that's the connection. Ice Cube was in Boys in the Hood, right?
That's what they did. Yeah, that's what they were doing. I guarantee it.
And Mo Chestnut, they got him in the sequel.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Suspect Zero came out the same day.
What the fuck is that?
That's another one I see all the time. I don't know if I've ever seen it. You guys, I think I have that.
Suspect Zero. I know of it, but I don't recall it.
It didn't do as well. 8.7 million. That was a horror movie. September. Now, this one had a small theatrical run, but Anchor Bay released it on DVD, and it was heavily hyped. And man, Anchor Bay did that a lot because they could promote and hype anything and make it sound like it was going to be the best thing since sliced bread. It's this movie called Malevolence.
I remember this movie.
It wasn't bad, that movie. I thought it was pretty good. It spawned like 2 sequels, I think.
I thought the sequels were better, though. Wasn't Bereavement one of the sequels? I thought that was better than the first movie.
Yeah. I thought Malevolence was pretty good. It got a lot of hype, and I don't know if it was just the Anchor Bay machine behind it, but I remember a lot of people putting that one over when it first came out.
I couldn't get into it, man. I remember, I don't know if Uncle Bill, you watched it too, didn't you?
I did, yeah. It's another one that I kind of didn't like either. But
Malevolence
had a very small theatrical run. Made 346,000.
Let's see who was in Malevolence. If anybody at all was in Malevolence,
Anybody would know.
There was a bigger name in one of those sequels. I remember, like maybe she wasn't a big name at the time, but she might be now. I'm just trying to think who would have been in that.
Let's see. Nobody in that one. The cast is completely like.
Check Bereavement.
I'm going to let's see sequel.
Cast is full.
There was Bereavement, and then there was Malevolence 3: The Killer. So yeah, you're right. Holy shit! So Alexandra Daddario, how do you pronounce her last name?
Alexandra Daddario, the one from Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was in Bereavement, and Jesus Christ, boys.
Yeah.
Hold on. Yeah.
The Ring
If
2
I-
is 2005.
I didn't even know this movie existed, man. Like I had no idea, or somehow
What,
this
Bereavement?
completely got by me. So it's like
The Bereavement has
It's
Anchor
just
Bay
called
put it out.
Bereavement, though. It wasn't called Malevolence 2, the one that I have.
Well, they came out with a Blu-ray box set of all three of them. I think that's what that image is from. But
Okay.
I have the Anchor Bay one over here.
Yeah, I've got
my
the-
God.
I think I've got the Blu-ray of that from back in the day.
Mm, that is that
Michael
is
Biehn
bizarre.
was in one of them, wasn't he? In the
Yeah,
second one?
this was
Yeah, yeah, his name's on it.
yeah, he was in the second one. This
The
was
second
with
one.
the Bereavement. That's what the
Bereavement?
image.
Okay.
That Anchor Bay.
Yeah,
did,
I've got the Blu-ray version of it, I think. All right, so you guys want to talk about some Resident Evil goodness? At Resident Evil Apocalypse.
God.
Wow.
Is that
That might have been
also?
That might have been the last one I watched.
Mila Jovovich, boss.
Is that also Paul W.S. Anderson? I know he directed some of those damn Resident Evil movies.
But I'm not one to ask about Resident Evil.
That's true. There's not really a series that it's not that I hate them. I just don't care about it more than those movies. Like they're so generic looking. They just look. I don't know if Lionsgate put them out, but it looks like Lionsgate put them out. If they
Well,
did, they should have.
The difference is, though, is the reason is they're making the money. This is like $125 million.
Yeah, they all
this
made
movie
money.
made. So that's why they kept making them. I mean, I can't fault them for that. Just give them more of the shit that they love.
Yeah, Paul W.S. Anderson did 1 and 4 through 6. God. So, which was Apocalypse. That was 2004.
Apocalypse.
Oh, God.
All right, so fast forward a little bit. October the 4th. And this one just received a special edition Blu-ray from Synapse, I think, last year or so. Jeff Lieberman movie, Satan's Little Helper. It's actually a pretty fun little
Yep.
black comedy.
That's
Yeah.
another one, man, that's kind of gotten resurgence lately.
100%. I think that was a huge get for Synapse to put that out on a nice edition. That was another movie I found randomly in a Walmart bin. You know, I was going through grabbing horror movies all the time for like next to nothing, and had a pretty cool cover. Brought it home, watched it. I was like, holy shit, that was fun as hell. And yeah, I think it's definitely an underrated gem for sure.
Yep.
Jeff Lieberman's had an interesting career, really.
Yeah,
if you
he
look at
has.
some of the stuff that he has done, like, you know, we talk about Just Before Dawn quite a bit. That's kind of his slasher movie. And Squirm was a big movie when it came out. Blue Sunshine. And then this was like 2004. So that, like, I think he had taken a break for a while or something like that and did this one, which is another completely different sort of movie. But I thought it was well made. It's another one that's set around Halloween time too, so it's a fun one to watch. You know, as the Halloween season is upon us, for sure. But Amanda Plummer's in this, but I don't think anybody else of note is in Satan's Little Helper. All independent people on the cheap.
Yep. Looks that way. I don't remember a whole heck of a lot about it because I think I've only seen it one time, but like I know it's got like a bigger cult following now. I'd actually like to see that movie again now.
Satan's
Is it
Little
out?
Helper?
Yeah. Is it out on
Synapse
Blu-ray?
Synapse just put it out. Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
looks
I'll probably
great
get
too.
that. For those
It's-
people that don't know what the fuck we're talking about, I'm going to share this picture of it.
Well,
real quick.
basically, the plot of it is this kid thinks he's addicted to this video game that has the devil in it or whatever. And there's a killer on the loose that's dressed up like the devil. And he's killing people, and this little boy is helping him, thinking it's just part of a game or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Which it actually has a pretty badass cover. Hold on. Y'all remember this one?
Yeah. Yeah, I think
That's
the
the
new
Synapse
artwork.
cover. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one that I want to get. now that you mentioned it, like I hadn't even really thought about that movie that much, but I think it was Christian or somebody was talking about it more recently, and it's kind of gotten a resurgence in terms of people like.
Yeah,
digging it.
I did a big review on it when I got it. But yeah, this has been a staple for a while for me, and it was cool to finally see it get some love here.
Yep, that's a fun release and high recommendation, I think, from all of us for sure.
Mm.
All right. Another high recommendation. I know Uncle Bill's excited to talk about this one because he's I think this is a Mick Garris movie.
Ah, fuck.
Riding the Bullet.
That movie,
Steven Singer.
was that actually a movie or a mini series? I can't remember.
Well, they've
Made
got
for
this.
TV.
It had a theatrical run, it said.
Get out of here! Really?
Yeah.
That's
It
not
said
that
it-
bad, is what I was getting at. Like in terms of Mick Garris stuff, like that's not that bad. Like that's pretty high up on my Mick Garris list of things.
Brian Z is telling no lie. That
Mm-mm.
the chick in that movie is mighty fine.
So I don't know. Have you seen it?
I don't think
Me?
so.
Either one of you?
I have seen it. It's been a long while since I've seen it, though.
Around this time period, there were so many of those Stephen King miniseries and movies and stuff, and they all started getting really, really generic. So I just
Yeah,
kinda
you had
went
this
with it.
one. Quicksilver Highway was another one that I'm thinking of when I'm trying to remember this movie. But yeah, it's hard to remember which is which of his stuff here.
Yeah, late 90s, early 2000s, there's a ton of these. And they all kind of look the same, too. Like the artwork. and
Storm of the
everything.
Century is another one.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, there was so many.
It's not bad. It's actually got some pretty cool practical effects stuff in it too, and you know, Storm of the Century is great, actually. Rose Red is. There's a lot of people that hate Rose Red, but I always.
What
really
year
liked the
was
movie.
Dreamcatcher? Like a lot of people hated
God,
that one.
that was around that time period, like 2003, maybe.
Because Dreamcatcher was one of those movies too that wasn't a miniseries. That was a movie, right? It was just
Yeah, that was a movie. That was just a straight up theatrical movie. Yeah.
It started off like it was going to be something great along the lines of like a Stand By Me or something like that.
Yep.
And then it just shits the bed like all over the place. And you
Literally
just
and figuratively in that movie.
immediately want to turn it off.
Well, the alien
Yeah.
comes out of your ass if you remember, like so he literally shits the bed, like
Right.
Another big problem with that movie is the accent that the guy puts on when he turns into the alien. It's one of the dumbest things you'll ever see in your life. Like, it's just really bad.
All right. So big one to talk about October the 22nd. This was a huge money maker as well. We were talking about the J horror boom, right? So, at this point in time, I think the Ring remake had already come out. So of course they've got to do a remake of Ju-on. And The Grudge came out theatrically October the 22nd.
Like,
$187 million.
listen, I've been waiting to do this. I've had this up forever. I've just been waiting here. So this is the last one of these I'm probably going to do. But
Show us some turquoise Asian children.
I have to do this because it's the best thing you'll ever see. Hold on.
Oh my God.
Bro, I love The Grudge.
The
I love
Pinches
The
Apparel. He's
Love
going to
it.
get the Pinches Apparel.
That picture nowadays is just so great. I can't watch this movie now without thinking about like scary movie where they bury it.
I can't help but just think of like Data from the Goonies.
Oh,
Look,
yeah.
guys, slick shoes.
Like shoes.
The Grudge was pretty good when it came out, though.
I mean, I haven't watched it in a couple of years, but I always loved The Grudge.
I never did like it. Like I like The Ring. The Grudge I've seen maybe twice. And yeah, it's a chore to get through to me. I just never could really get into it. And the Asian children, even at this point, was like, this is done to death. But like they continued on.
They did. They
Jesus
put Asian
Christ.
kids like that in every environment that you could put him in, literally, and like gave it to Tartan Asia Extreme, and we had to watch it. So, like, ghost kids became like the new slashers there for a while.
Right. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Rambo's not a fan of the Grudge either.
Damn.
Justice
Yeah, it was the American version with Sarah Michelle Gellar. Yeah.
So the same director of the Japanese version.
Yeah. Remember
That's
when they
interesting.
remade that? Didn't they remake that recently?
Yeah, that
And
was
then-
dog.
Yeah, again.
Yeah, and then it had like one of the same scenes. Like they almost remade scenes from it, shot for shot too.
Yeah, it was wicked unnecessary. I don't know why they did that. That was like when they redid Cabin Fever too. It like made no sense. I don't know why they did that.
But look at that picture though. If that don't scare the shit out of you right now, I don't know what we would-
remember what the noise it made when he did that?
yeah, yeah.
It was like a cat.
Yeah.
Why is that a cat noise?
It was a good
That's a
time.
trend though that I'm glad like that shit's over and done with.
Oh, they just started coming out with tons of them, like Pulse and One Missed Call and
Mhm.
The Booth.
what was the other one? Shutter or something? Was that what it's
Like
called?
they
Shutter
were like
was one- yeah.
every object imaginable you could think of was
Yep.
haunted in these different movies.
Yep. There's a radio station that was haunted in one of them. There was like a phone booth that was haunted. There was a fucking elevator shaft that was
The
haunted.
toilet.
Isn't there like a camera or something? Yeah.
There was, yeah.
The Eye.
The
That's
eye.
the one.
Yep. Anyway.
Wow.
That same day though, this is a pretty underrated movie. And we were talking about this the other night for some reason, because we were talking about Brad Anderson,
Oh
who
man.
seemingly like, I mean, evidently he still does stuff, but does a lot of TV stuff or whatever. But, you know, Session 9 was gigantic. That was a pretty big indie movie when it came out. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't they get like some kind of Oscar nomination for The Machinist? That's the one we're talking about. It came out the same day, October 22nd.
The Machinist came out in 2004.
Yeah.
God, man, that's a difficult film to watch. It's a great film. It's difficult to watch because Christian Bale is like 80 pounds or something crazy. Like he almost died preparing for this movie.
He lost all
Insane to
kinds of
see him.
weight.
Oh, insane.
Yeah, I
Wow.
mean, it really is bizarre. That
I
somebody
love-
would go-
Yeah, I love this movie though. I always
Yeah,
have.
it's a great movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's another one that nobody really references at all. So this would be a killer one for like Second Sight or Arrow. to
Oh
do.
yeah. 100%.
No. And the same day, there's a lot of stuff come out October 22nd. We interviewed this guy. This guy he's a sight for sure. Jim Van Baber, The Manson Family, came out October 22nd, 2004.
I had no idea that came out that year, but that's a great movie too.
I think so. That's another like when it comes to those Manson movies, there's a gazillion of them, man. There is like so many of them.
Yeah.
But this is one of the better ones, I think. I actually really want to go back and rewatch it. I have the Blu-ray version of it that came out a while back.
Who put out the DVD? Was it Dark Sky originally?
Yeah,
That did that
yeah,
white one that
yeah.
everybody was after? Okay.
They
yeah,
did
yeah.
I think they did the Blu-ray too.
Yeah.
Oh, they did.
um,
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like the only two movies they have licensed is Manson Family and Texas Chainsaw
Probably.
Massacre.
Probably at this point, yeah.
Yeah. But, the very well put together movie. Jim Van Baber's got a lot of issues, unfortunately, because we don't.
Well, he
Yeah.
did. We don't know if he does now.
Well, he did. I think he probably still does, and that affected his career. But the guy had amazing, directing ability for sure, natural ability.
Yeah.
All right, so the next week, and keep in mind here too, like I think the genre was in like a transitional phase. Like they didn't know, that they were kind of doing the Asian thing, right? Doing those, but they were looking for the next big thing. And like it or not, say what you want to about it. I'm not a gigantic fan of these movies, but the next big thing was this movie that came out, like I said, October the 29th, Saw from James Wan.
Dun, 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 dun.
And
Yeah.
This movie, they were on a roll for like what is the next 7 or 8 years. Every October,
Literally every year. Yeah.
there was a new Saw movie, and every year it made tons and tons of money. Interesting backstory though on Saw is, and it's another independent film that Lionsgate picked up at the Sundance Film Festival. The original plan for this was to be one of those direct to DVD movies. Evidently, the fan response at Sundance, and I guess just seeing how the crowd reacted and everything, they had changed their mind on it. So this almost was like one of those direct to DVD releases.
That would have changed everything. That would have changed the whole trajectory of horror for the next couple of years, because as we titled this, it was kind of like the horror genre was looking for its next big thing. And I think that's totally true with this year. And it's a very transitional year because you had remakes, you had sequels still coming out. And then, you had a couple original movies, but nothing really caught fire. Then in October, this thing hit, and all of a sudden it was a huge success, such a huge success that it spawned 10, 11, 12 sequels or whatever. And
they're still coming out.
A lot of movies that came out in 2005, 2006, they all started going with that same kind of style, like that shock, very gory style kind of thing like Saw did. And it really started to change the landscape into more of that ultra violent, people would even say torture porn type horror stuff that we're going to see now in the next couple of years. And I think this was just a random hit, and it stuck and kind of moved the genre into a new direction, which I think really helped the genre as a whole. Love it or hate Saw, I think it really did help keep this genre going strong for the next couple of years. And the next couple of years are pretty strong years in the genre, I think.
Well, that's the thing about Saw, though, is that when I first saw that movie,
You saw enough.
I saw enough. No, I mean, I loved it. I thought that the ending was great. I thought that the whole setup of the film was great, except for some of the stuff with like Danny Glover, which I didn't. He was just really oddly placed in that movie.
He's too old for that shit.
But he might have been at that time. But like, I thought it was a really good film. But see, that's what happens with these films, though. They make one that's like really good and original like that, and then you just take the lowest common denominator out of it, which is like some of the graphic violent scenes, and then that became like a whole big friggin' thing, right? So that became the only thing people focused on. So you got your hostels and your captivities and your friggin',
Turistas,
and it just became this huge.
And Lionsgate did a lot of those, man. That's the funny thing. Like they were quick to pick all these movies up, and the whole grimy movement of horror too started with Saw, like that look. You know what I'm saying?
Where, like the colors were kind of dull.
Yeah, that little Lionsgate look. That's what I call it. Yeah.
And the Saw movies were a force to be reckoned with. We could talk about this. The Saw franchise was a big reason that Michael Dougherty's Trick or Treat didn't come out in the theaters in October a couple years later. I think that's probably the reason. So, some of these other studios were like, fuck, Saw is killing it every year. We can't put anything out. Like October, like I think they had a campaign one time, like a TV spot or something back when they did TV spots. It's October, it must be Saw. Right? I think that was one of the lines. So they owned that whole month. And the promotion that Lionsgate did for these movies was fantastic too.
I really do think, though, the first two movies are pretty good. It's just once you get beyond that, and once you get past like the fourth one, they're unwatchable to me. Like they're just they morph into something
repetitive,
completely different,
like stupid. Like it got cliche at the end, and I legit didn't recognize half the people that they were showing in these flashback scenes, and I just got out of it. Like they were doing the whole violin.
I'll tell you the exact moment that I knew it was over with was when they found that fucking jump drive in his urethra. That's when you knew it may not have been his urethra. It may have been his stomach or something. It was somewhere like that though. But like, that's when you kind of were like, no, that's probably not gonna.
I laughed out loud, I think, when we saw
Yeah.
that.
But real quick though, that's like, you know, probably the biggest influential film to come out of that time period, really. I mean, I feel like that of the early 2000s, that film affected everything after it for years. Like everything was graphically violent, even the remakes. Like if you look at Hills Have Eyes and stuff like that, were graphically violent.
No,
It just took over that.
What's
part of the
interesting
genre.
too, if you think about it, a lot of these big movies that become big franchises is they're independent movies. Like Saw was independently made originally, and it went on. I mean, probably $1 billion combined, at least, probably more than that.
Yeah.
Paranormal Activity was the same way; it was independently made. Blair Witch Project, all these big movies, man. It's the Hollywood system just doesn't really come up with anything worth a shit. They know how to exploit it, but everything, the creative minds, you can't be led by a boardroom and make a good fucking movie. You're going to see that with The Crow. It's coming out this weekend, and that piece of shit Beetlejuice movie that's coming out here in the next.
Hey, you watch your mouth. I'm gonna go watch it.
Do you think that's gonna? You don't think that's gonna be a huge hit?
I mean, it probably will.
100% will.
It's 100% going to be a piece of shit, though. I think. Like it has go away heat written all over.
It. I think because I think what they're doing though, and I can see both angles here. They're making a little bit more. I mean, it's wild because it was comedic, but I think they're going to take it over the top, almost cartoony. Like I think
it looked like Who Framed Roger Rabbit or something.
So people are either going to love it or hate it. Some people were like, "Oh, I'm going to like this one because I like the cartoon." Well, it's tough because Beetlejuice, the original one, was comedic, but it was still dark. And I don't know if they're going to take that darkness away, but I'm curious to see how this thing kind of all works out. I'm excited for it, but I do have, reservations about how this is going to be overall.
Yeah.
I agree with Rambo. I kind of agree with that. He says it's almost like it has the same kind of look as like the Munsters. I can kind of see that actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very almost too polished kind of.
Same cinematographer, maybe. I don't know.
I just don't think that.
But Justin is right too. All practical, which I got to give them credit for.
You can't really copy like Tim Burton from that time period. So I'm not sure
there's
like how they're going to pull that off.
There's no reason to do a sequel now. Like the perfect year to do a sequel was, what was the first one? Like 88, 93 or 94. Right. I mean, you're waiting. What is it? It's like 35 years later or something like that. There's just no reason to do it. And nobody asked for another Beetlejuice movie at this point, I don't think.
I wanted to see it.
Hey, I'll be honest with you. I love the first Beetlejuice movie. I really do. Like that's one of my favorite Tim Burton movies for sure. I like it a lot. But that movie doesn't need a sequel. It didn't need a sequel.
I'm curious about this.
It didn't.
If you think the same thing too. I just don't think that this movie is intended for us. But like Savannah is legitimately wants to see it. Like is actually excited about seeing it. I feel like that it has an audience of people that like mainstream that will.
I feel like we should do a Dead Pit on the Road for it.
Well, we already said we were going to do that. I thought.
Well, we didn't say it publicly though. We're saying it publicly.
Yeah, I mean, I would
but
love
that means
to do it.
We have to do it.
It's very, very interesting. This one, it's gonna be because I think you're right. Like it's gonna open up new eyes to this character in this world that hadn't, that are gonna be excited for it. But I also think that the diehards are either gonna be super excited to have him back and love it, or they're gonna be like, "This is shit" because I'm more into what I saw growing up. It's hard to say. I think this could go either way. I think this is going to be pretty polarizing of a movie. I do have, like I said, my reservations about it. I think that it could become a little too hokey for me. Mm-hmm. Obviously he had the humor about him in the first one, but I think it might be taken to a level that I'm just kind of like, eh. it's almost cringeworthy, but we'll see. I mean, I trust Keaton. I love Keaton. I like the fact they're doing practical effects. So, I mean, is a lot to this that I'm interested in. I think the angle I'm already not into is the fact that there's like that, his like wife or something. It was that like, is like that woman, like that whole thing already to me is probably just like I'm already kind of like, I don't like where this is going here. But that's all I know. I don't really know much more about what they're doing with the movie.
Everybody always references Top Gun, by the way, and that is the only one. That's the only one that was good.
I never
Like
saw
it. It was Top Gun 2 is actually very, very good.
Most of the time, it's just a cheap cash grab, in my opinion.
I tell you one thing weird about the Beetlejuice trailers though that I noticed was that everybody is 30 some years older, but they're all dressed exactly the same. It just seemed very weird that they like.
How old is Catherine O'Hara at this point, man? She's got to be in her 70s, I would think. Yeah. Almost. All right, continuing on though. Jesus Christ, talk about a piece of shit here.
Remember, that's the one thing about O'Hara though. Did you see when she went on Twitter and like bashed anybody who said they didn't like it or something?
No.
I'm like, I hate when actors and directors and shit do that. Like, people allowed to have opinions. She basically was like, if you don't like it, you're stupid or something. It's like,
you don't like it,
do that.
Like, I kind of was a turnoff for me. I was like, how can you even say that? Like, nobody's allowed to have an opinion besides it's great.
No,
like,
it's good.
She's just happy to be.
That's what the producer of Borderlands did. Remember, like he came out and he was like,
give
this movie a chance.
That movie was freaking. Oh, I didn't see it, but I heard it was like the biggest piece of shit, which I kind of could tell by the trailer. I looked at the trailer.
It was delayed for a long time, wasn't it?
This doesn't look good at all. Yeah, like it was like a weird humor. The guy gets like he pushed a robot like down the stairs, and they're all laughing. I'm like, wait, that's the joke. Like this is
that's it.
That's
looked
the
like
comedy in this.
A stupid even dumber version of Suicide Squad. Like that's what it reminded me of.
Let's not delay this one any longer though, guys, because it's like getting shot. November the 12th, Seed of Chucky came out. 2004.
Listen, I'm not going to shit on Seed of Chucky. I like it more now than I did when it came out. Oh, I'll actually say I find it pretty fun. So
I think I like it less than when the first time I watched it. Because we did a commentary for it.
We did, and I thought maybe
I was like, God damn, this is like way worse than I remember it being, honestly.
Shit face. Listen, shit face.
It's not bad because of that angle, though, to me. Like, it's bad because it's a boring fucking movie. Like, the whole angle, like, with having the kid.
You know, like with her trying to.
Glenn or Glenda kind of stuff. Like, that's fine. Whatever. Like, that's what a lot of people hate about it, but that's the least of that movie's problems to me. It's just a really horribly paced.
Nothing happening movie.
Chucky
looks like shit in that movie, too.
I don't think it's a great movie. I think it's kind of fun. I think the silliness of like, I don't know, she's like trying to hook up with a red man. Like that storyline, like didn't really make sense, I guess. Like
it's very, very weird. Yeah, that whole.
I do like Glenda. Glenn. I like him. Little shit face. I like that guy.
Did you get the Glenn doll?
Of course, I got Glenn. Oh yeah.
Damn me. Swear to God.
He's right there. He's right there. He's wearing a headband, and I call him Shitface. Yo,
Are you able to get it, Garrett?
Yeah, he's right here.
Oh, okay, go ahead and show it to us. I want to see this fucking thing.
I was joking.
No, I'm not. He's not joking.
You guys don't watch my content. I did a whole review video when I got it. Come on now. Hello, Shitface.
Oh my God.
Killer. Listen, I don't give a shit. That's killer. Like, I don't even care. That movie ain't worth a damn, but that is fucking amazing. Look at that.
Get over there.
Oh God.
Get over there, you.
I actually total meltdown. I actually like Bride of Chucky. Like that may be my second favorite in that whole franchise.
Bride?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I still like the first three the best.
To be fair, I probably do need to rewatch the third movie, but because it's been probably 20 years since I've seen it at least. But
the first one,
the third one,
yeah.
That whole franchise though, man, and Chucky in general, I think it just needs to take a break. Like it's just overexposed.
Well, definitely now, yeah, that TV show is like gone way overboard at this point.
All right. Yeah, but so Garrett likes Seed of Chucky. I don't think it did that well though.
No, I mean I don't hate it. I don't think it's good, but I'm down with it.
24.7 million. It did okay, I guess. All right. So one of the big ones that came out later. Let's see. I don't want to skip Dracula 3000. We can talk about it real quick.
Could we?
It's one of Uncle Bill's favorites. The great cast in Dracula 3000. I wrote this down because I was like, oh God, this is a TV movie, by the way. Came out December the 7th. Casper Van Dien, Coolio, Erica Leniak, and Udo Kier, boys.
Hell to the yes.
Let me tell you something. You guys remember Erica Leniak?
I remember from Under Siege. You remember that?
No.
I remember from Chasers, man. You remember from Chasers?
Yeah, that's
You
another.
get to see those big.
Go back. I'm just going to tell you all this right now. Go back. Watch Under Siege where she comes out of the birthday cake. That's all I'm going to say to you.
Mm.
Go do that now.
You know who Erica Leniak is, don't you, Garrett?
No.
You need to look her up because you'll remember her when you see her. Those baby blue eyes. Look her up, Uncle Bill. Just don't show anything.
Yeah.
Don't show anything with boobs on.
I will. I'll just put her titties up here and we don't.
Garrett wouldn't like that.
How do you spell it? Erica Leniak?
ErikaEleniak. Lots of K's.
Dear Lord. There's so many good pictures.
Okay, how do you do the last name?
Here, I'm going to show you all anyway.
He's going to show you.
Okay.
She was also in Bordello Blood, baby.
Blood.
It takes Uncle Bill a while to find.
Oh, the chick from Baywatch?
Yeah, she was in Baywatch.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
Baby Blue.
Lord God.
Yeah. She's a bit of all right for sure.
Yeah, she was good.
Just take a look at that for a minute. And then
So Dracula 3000 might be worth seeing because, well, no, it's a TV movie, so she wouldn't be showing anything in it. So, yeah, forget about it. All right, so.
Wait a minute. I have more pictures on here.
Okay. Just make sure you don't get anything with nipples on it.
I'll try. Trying to find a picture of her. Just continue on. I want to find a picture of her in Under Siege, too, though. Go ahead.
All right, so the next day, December the 8th, and this one was in theaters, although it really didn't deserve to be, Blade Trinity. Ryan Reynolds is in this, too. It's the first superhero movie Ryan Reynolds was in.
He was ripped, dude, though. Guy's
Long
in great
before,
shape in that movie.
What was the Deadpool or whatever the hell it is?
Oh, yeah.
And
You had Triple H, the game Trip.
There's
Right.
more good stories about this movie than there is the movie itself. Like
Wesley Snipes was fucked up big time or something, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't that the story? Like, and didn't he
Yep.
go to prison not long after this movie?
Yep.
Okay.
There you go.
Look at Trip, dude. Sick. He's got the
Look
chrome
at my
fangs. He's
two-thirds,
killing it, dude. Killing it. God.
So
Sure.
the story I always heard about this movie was that he stayed in his trailer. Wesley Snipes did, not Triple H. Stayed in his trailer the whole time and smoked weed, and like nobody was allowed to go around him. He wouldn't let anybody like look him in the eye, and he was a total like tool through the entire filming of it. And it was just, I think a lot of the scenes that are supposed to be with them together are actually shot separately, like him and Ryan Reynolds and the other cast members. It's just like he's being shot at a different time or even place maybe than they are, and they're supposed to be like reacting to each other. It's just a mess.
There's a big fight sequence in it with Ryan Reynolds and Triple H. And this was around the time Triple H was like, wasn't Evolution or whatever was the gimmick he was going with at the time, I think.
Was it 2004?
Yeah,
Possibly,
2004. I remember WWE hyping the hell out of this because this was sort of a big deal for back then.
Yeah.
I saw it in the theaters. So, I mean, I rushed out to check it out for sure.
Give you a better idea here.
I mean, I'm not going to tell you I hated this. I thought it was fine.
I'm just
it's not Blade. It's not the first one, but I mean, I was all right with it.
I wouldn't say I'm even a fan of the first one. It's just not my type of movie. To
Same,
be
but
honest.
I mean, I like the first one a lot. I like the second one a lot. That was Guillermo del Toro, and that was like a really
Yeah, a lot of
well
people
done-
like the second one the most, I think, right?
Well, yeah, a lot of people do prefer that one, but like this one is just to me was always just a mess.
Look at this
Wesley
picture right here.
Snipes.
See you picture like this right now. Here, like you're hearing like line in the sand. They're like walking towards you. Evolution.
Wesley Snipes did look like a kind of a badass in this, though. They did make him look like a badass. You imagine a wrestler with that same sort of look? Nobody
Oh, yeah.
has that.
No. Who
Somebody
had?
should do
Wasn't
that.
there somebody with the blade haircut at one point? I don't remember. Was it Scorpio? Maybe.
Did he have
Percy
that?
Kinda
Watson.
I don't remember. But
Hard body
he looked
hair.
looked
Yeah.
great. Ryan Reynolds just came out and is trying to get Snipes to come back as Blade. I don't know if they want him to be in like a Deadpool movie and do like a crossover, but there was just a picture of Snipes and Reynolds on Twitter or something on Instagram. I saw, and it said like Ryan Reynolds is trying to get him to do the Blade role again. I don't know if it's for a Blade
He's
movie or
probably-
to be in like one of his movies as like
How old's Wesley Snipes at this point, though?
oh
Could
man,
he
he's
do
gonna
it?
be
I don't even
60s.
Is he acting anymore at all?
Yeah,
Oh, Blade was in Deadpool. Oh, I
Yeah.
don't know. I have never seen the movie. I have no idea.
that was the big
maybe-
one of the big reveals.
Oh, Wesley
fuck,
Snipes is at the end of it?
So I just got spoiled.
So it's
Fuck,
happening,
hey.
man.
Yep, you just did.
Well, I would-
Sorry.
I will
was
never
hoping
watch that
I was hoping
anyway, so-
nobody would fucking say that, but at this point,
Damn it! I mean, maybe they're doing it to try to see if he can have his own spin-off, maybe like another sequel of a Blade movie. Maybe that's what it was about. And I didn't know the what it was for because I didn't know he was in this new one.
I dare them spoil that for you.
Oh
got some-
damn you guys!
We got some great ones coming up, though. Garrett, you're going to be really excited about this because also on December the 8th, I think it was a sci-fi original. It's got your boy the Fell Dog starring in it, and
Oh,
Vanessa
baby.
Angel.
What?
Vanessa Angel.
Oh,
Demonic Toys, baby.
Yeah, Puppet Master versus the Demonic Toys.
Oh yeah! Come on, Corey Feldman, Baby Oopsie Daisy, and Tunneler, dude, in the same movie. Fuck yeah! Come on.
That was like the one thing that I can remember about that movie is Deep Discount couldn't give that fucking movie away.
listen. You leave that movie alone.
Like it was like
Oh,
$3 and something at one point in time. I think it was the cheapest Anchor Bay DVD ever. Was the Puppet Master versus Demonic Toys?
Anchor
but
Bay
like-
put that stuff out.
How? Let me tell you something. How can you talk trash about a movie like this? Look at this. This is
Yeah,
Yeah.
baby. Look at
Oh,
Jack.
yeah?
Killing it.
you seen
Jack's
Jet?
killing it. He's killing it.
Shame my boy.
God.
I think the
It's like
story with this though, like Anchor Bay had bought, like I don't think Charles Band had anything to do with this movie. They had just bought the rights to do this movie or something. Like it was going to be some sort of big deal.
Oh
Oh,
my
Because
God.
it's not a full moon movie, is it?
No,
Now,
it's,
let me-
it's
let me-
Anchor Bay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they had anything to do with it at all, though. I think that was the gimmick. Maybe somebody.
There's a picture.
Let
I
us
think
know.
there should be a picture of Feldog holding a little baby and is like a baby
Yes.
doll.
It says on here, original release was by Sci-Fi, December 18th, 2004.
Right.
Was
That
it
was
just
before the
made, like-
DVD.
Let's see, who the fuck? Hold on, I can see who released it here.
Look at him.
It was released on Sci-Fi Channel and received a DVD release on. It doesn't say who did the DVD though. For some reason,
It's Anchor Bay did
the
it.
DVD.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I've got it. I've watched it once. That was enough.
I want to rewatch it now. Look at him.
Mm-hmm. How could you not love that?
It looks
Alright,
cool.
so the other one was another release. It's kind of infamous, and this director is kind of infamous as well. This came out
Uh-huh.
December the 24th, 2004.
Christmas Eve just
This-
comes out.
Yeah,
That's
it's a
promising.
hell of a movie. Hell of a movie
Oh,
to come
boy.
out on Christmas Eve. Nick Palumbo's Murder Set Pieces, and we're talking about the director's cut, not the Lionsgate,
No, no,
the,
no.
the G-rated Lionsgate cut.
Yeah.
This is one that takes it a little too far, I would say. I've still got the unrated cut, by the way. It's the one that I'm showcasing back here.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's still pretty valuable,
Rare.
like $80 or so on.
That was
Amazon.
really, really sought after when that came out. Remember? Because then Lionsgate put out their version. Everybody's like, "What's this shit?" You know, and then everybody wanted that one. It was a pain in the ass to get that thing, but
yeah,
that's like the logical extension of what happens when you take things like it's going on at that time, the torture porn kind of stuff, and you take it like really far. So that's like, to me, like, I don't know when toe tag started coming out with stuff. Had to be around the same time, though.
it was, yeah, 100%.
So
It
they're
was,
basically the same type of movie.
yeah, it's the same sort of. Well, I gotta
This
say,
one had a little bit of a bigger budget. I think it felt like
Yeah.
more of a movie. Toe
This
tag
is a
felt like something
theatrical-
somebody recorded at their house or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
it
is a well-made movie. Like he had done a couple other things too. Like Ryan Nicholson, I think, was in that same crew.
Yep.
None of these guys liked Nick Palumbo though. Ryan Nicholson was not a fan. I remember him telling me that, and I don't think Fred Vogel likes him either. So this is a weird individual, Nick Palumbo. He's kind of under the radar now. He hasn't made a film in many years.
We've been trying to figure out like what exactly happened to him, like, because I don't know.
Yeah.
We just kind of feel like he dropped off the face of the earth.
Yeah,
after
especially
What else?
like,
What else was he making? What other movies did he do?
okay, so he did Murder Set Pieces, and I think that was his last film. Like,
Mhm.
before that, he had like a movie called Nutbag. No joke.
there was another one that he did with Ryan Nicholson that was part of an anthology. The Ryan Nicholson one is called Torched, which is fucking insane. That was out.
Yeah, that's
You remember that one?
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
I don't.
But I don't know what Nick Palumbo's one was called. I can't remember. But yeah, he did a few things. But then after Murder Set Pieces, which had a pretty huge buzz when it came out, a lot of people were talking about just how, some sick, crazy shit in this movie. And still to this day, the director's cut version, that's the only way you can get it. It's 20 years old at this point. It's
so
insane.
if you go to nickpalumbo.com, he's actually got a website, but like, it doesn't look like he's posted, like, even if you go to his social media links on there, they're from like around the time that movie was released. Like that.
We're talking about murder set pieces fight. Yeah, it had a lot of buzz though. It had a lot of buzz when that came out. Like, just as like, the same way I think Terrifier had
yeah,
its buzz,
same kind of movie, really. Yeah.
Yeah, what's the difference is though is he just completely went away. Like, I wonder what the story is with that.
So a lot of people probably have seen me wear this shirt because I actually still have this. I think he sent it to us, didn't he?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how else we would have got it, but like, this is the image that's on the front of the DVD.
We never talked to him on the show, but we did talk to him, and he sent all kinds of stuff, like sent us both copies of the DVD, sent us like the feature. I think they did a feature on Ultraviolet magazine, sent shirts, was a pretty nice guy to us, right? I mean, I don't have anything negative to say about him. But yeah, it's just an interesting story that he completely just stopped.
And the funny thing is that movie doesn't have any updated releases. For a movie that kind of was over like Rover in the horror community, you'd figure he'd try to spawn a sequel. That never happened. Like, it's just, you're right. Like, for something that came out, was very hot, like with the community and how crazy it was and different it was, you'd think he'd be all over it with a sequel, but you wonder if it was a little bit too ahead of its time. I don't even know, really,
Well, I mean, it would definitely fit in right now with what's going on with like
Right.
Terrifier and stuff. Yeah, I mean, but even at that time, it was kind of the same style as Hostel. It just went too far.
was.
It just took that idea and just went too far with it. I think it kind of turned people off. A lot of people hated him after that movie. I remember, because there's certain things in that movie where you just don't do, and he did it, and it's like he got a lot of shit for that movie. I do remember that.
And Babyface Thompson, A Wet Movie 1, what's going on, man? is asking, why didn't people like him? I didn't really get an answer, like, because we were talking about, and we may still do a show on Nick Palumbo. Like, it's just
That would be a
interesting
good
story.
Yeah.
And I asked Fred Vogel because I know that they kind of worked in the same circles and everything. And he was like, I want to make it clear, I was never friends with Nick Palumbo. I don't know if he just rubbed people the wrong way or if he was very weird. Now, Ryan Nicholson was another one that was kind of weird and did these hardcore movies like Torch, but he was kind of loved by the community. So it's kind of interesting to see, like, I would love to know, like, what issues did Nick Palumbo have? It's an interesting story for sure.
Yeah, I don't know what the backstory is. Somebody said, I think Rambo said he's on Twitter.
I think he posts stuff randomly, but nothing about movies. I think he posts a lot of politics shit.
Well, when I want to know about politics, I immediately go to Nick Palumbo in my head. I wonder what he thinks about what's going on.
But you got a few more movies though to talk to because we're at
just message him on Twitter and say you want Murder Set Pieces in 4K. Just tell him.
Yeah,
it's just odd, man. Like you would think somebody would have. I mean, I'm sure at some point it'll come out, but it's been 20 years. It's kind of weird. But Darkness, that's that one with Anna Paquin. That one came out on Christmas Day that year.
God, that'd be the worst Christmas present ever.
Imagine your movie cut on Christmas Day. It's like that's like a wicked not good sign.
That's like one of those movies though that's just always on a shelf and you see it.
Yeah.
It's not even intriguing enough to look at the back of it and see what it's about. Like Fear.com is another one of those. It's like, white noise.
She did it right for herself though. She ended up doing True Blood and she was fine.
Yeah, she lived off that money forever, I would say.
True Blood was a great show though, man. I mean, I didn't get through the whole thing, but some of those first couple seasons were really good.
Yeah, it was. I don't remember what year that came out, but like the first couple of seasons that were really good.
There's some of these that we don't have an exact release date on, but we can go through them. There were the 2 Ginger Snaps sequels were that same year. Ginger Snaps 2 Unleashed and Ginger Snaps Back the Beginning. Both of those are like, they're
okay. They're not as strong as the original, obviously. They kind of go back in like different time periods and stuff like that. It's all right. The girls do well together, but I never found that they were able to live up to the first one.
I'm not positive I ever watched either one of those. I mean, Ginger Snaps is not a movie that I ever go back to.
Well, Ginger Snaps, the second one, is a sequel. And I think it takes place in prison or something, if I'm not mistaken. And it just follows Emily, the sister of Ginger. And Ginger's barely in it, I think. And then the second sequel, part 3, is like set in the fucking 1800s or something. It's stupid as shit. Like, it's a prequel. I don't understand what's going on. But, all right. We're almost done. There's one more left. Not a release date on this one, but it's a great little movie. We've bragged this guy's movies up for a while. And this one may be the most underrated one because it's not mentioned very much. Rolf Kanefsky, The Hazing, Uncle Bill. I know it's one that's you've talked about a lot. Tiffany Shapis,
it's
one of her big roles.
It's like a Night of the Demons ripoff, is what it is, but it's fairly decent for that style of movie. Yeah, I've always liked that movie. Tiffany Shapis is not the lead in that movie, which is really weird because she does kind of steal the show. It's got some weird name.
Nectar Rose,
yeah. And you
sounds like a porno star.
You never hear anything about her like after this movie, but
Nectar Rose from Behind.
Anyway,
but that is 2004. Did I leave anything obvious out that you guys wanted to mention?
Not that I can think of offhand. But it was like we talked about before. It was a weird year, like there was not too many like crazy hits. In my opinion, you had Dawn of the Dead. You had obviously Saw.
Did I have
Grudge.
Shaun of the Dead on here? I must have skipped
Oh,
over.
Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, you didn't.
That's a 2004. Oh yeah.
Was that 2004?
Yeah, it was.
Well, we need to talk about Shaun of the Dead then.
You
I don't
wanted
think
to
it's on
talk
this
about-
list for some
Was it
reason.
Napoleon
2004?
Dynamite
It's
instead.
not.
No, I think it's
thought it was.
2004.
I thought
Yeah.
it was. too,
Look it
though,
up and see, because I think they left it off this list for some reason. It may
It's
have
not
come out in
showing-
it may have come
Yeah,
out in Europe.
And the
Or some-
Village too.
It
The
did.
Village.
Yeah.
Okay. See, I think we may have seen it in the US in like 2005. But yeah, that's the difference, I guess. So technically it did come out in 2004. What can you say about it, man? I mean, I think that this movie kind of led the way for more and more zombie films to come out, especially like Land of the Dead. That one would have never come out if it wasn't for Shaun of the Dead and especially the Dawn of the Dead remake too.
I like Shaun of the Dead.
It's one of the best. It's one of the best directed comedy like horror films ever. Like it just is. Like you go back and watch it and you see shit in it like every time that you didn't see the last time that you watched it. The setups are great. Edgar Wright's like one of the best director like / cinematographer that there are really. I hated that movie though when I first saw it. I think we talked about this before. Like
Yeah.
I just did not get the movie and didn't understand what he was trying to do until much later on.
Yeah, it's interesting. I loved it since the first time I saw it. And I mean, I still like it, but again, I will say it's not one that I watch regularly. I haven't probably seen Shaun of the Dead now in probably 5 years, I would say. But I always had a great time with it. I think it was really effective for what it wanted to do. I think it's definitely on this whole list, definitely one of the top 5 movies of this year.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think the acting and the cast, the overall cast in this movie too, worked perfectly. Like that's the true star, like the star of the movie. I mean, it's funny and everything, but the chemistry, I think, is what I'm trying to get at with the actors.
Nick Frost is probably the best part of that movie, to be honest. As Ed.
Yeah, it's cool. And I know a couple of people brought up different movies. The Village, I don't know, that's 2004 as well.
We
Okay,
saw
that's-
that one at the theater. I know we did because I
So did
remember.
I. It was one of my, and I'm sure you guys feel the same way. It was definitely an experience in the theater that I remember to this day because it was one of those things where at that time coming off Signs, I was like, okay, this is going to be, I loved Signs. I absolutely loved Signs. So I was assuming Village was going to be, just as good. And just by the trailer, it looked really freaking creepy. And I can remember when that big reveal happened and I was just like, what the fuck? Like I was so bummed out in the theater. Like I literally was like, basically like, I'm fucking done with this. Like I wanted to leave. Like I was so pissed that was the route they took.
Yep.
I hated The Village. It was like one of my most hated movies for such a long time. But I will say, going back and watching it not too long ago, I was kind of like, all right, like there's a lot to it that's still pretty good. I like it more now than I did the first time. When I saw it for the first time, it literally was one of my most hated movies of all time. But I respect it more now. I think it was a ballsy thing he did. I think Jordan Peele might run into the same problem as he did here, because I think this is where Shyamalan really, people started to change their tune on him, was from this movie on.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
Jordan
I think this
Peele
was
in
the
my-
beginning and the end.
yeah, like this was important. It's important for a lot of directors. Like Jordan Peele to me has had 3 really good movies. I feel like his next one has to be good, or people are going to start thinking twice about him, I think. But The Village, I'll say now I appreciate it more than I did back then. And if it comes out with a brand new 4K and stuff or whatever, I'll probably get it because it looks great.
I would be willing to revisit it because I don't think that I've even attempted since we saw it in the theater.
I haven't either.
I just haven't wanted to watch it again. But that
Yeah,
would be an
I
interesting
think
one to
you
maybe
would.
go back and rewatch.
I agree. It's still creepy when it needs to be, and the twist now is kind of cool because it was a ballsy move, and it still visually looks really good, and I think the story is pretty good too. So I would say 100% it's worth a revisit.
Yeah, that one and I don't think I ever watched Lady in the Water all the way through. I turned it
Oh,
off.
that's so
I
bad.
never did.
That was another one. I
really
remember I
couldn't-
giving him a second
I couldn't
chance
do it.
when Lady in the Water came out, and I'm like, all right, Village, he messed up. He's got to do good here. I love Signs. I love
Yeah.
Sixth Sense. I loved Unbreakable. All right, this is got to be good. I went and I was like, he did it again. This is so fucking terrible. It was like awful. Then The Happening came, and I'm like, dude, he doesn't know what the hell's going on anymore.
No, he had a
He's
bad
funny,
run
like,
there.
Yeah.
He's
For a
good at
while.
making trailers, though. That's where I find that he always gets me intrigued by the trailer. I'm like, oh, I think this might be a good one. And I think he's still doing that. I haven't seen Trap yet, but the trailer, I was like, dude, this looks awesome. He's coming back. And then I'm hearing that it was like, some people said they loved it. Some people said the biggest piece of shit they ever seen. So I just think he's got issues with, is he so worried about the swerve? I don't know what his issue is anymore.
He kind of worked himself into a shoe, didn't he? Where he now has to like constantly have like a twist. And when he doesn't have a twist, people are like, where's the fucking twist? When he does have a twist, people are like, that twist sucked ass.
Like, I think that
That's
overall,
screwed.
he's a good filmmaker, but he doesn't know how to, like, the last act of the movie every time is awful.
Yeah.
Like, he can't end the movie.
Yeah, he's horrible at that. And
Yeah.
he's horrible at like, I don't know if it's maybe like coaching actors or whatever, but like, I've noticed in a lot of his films, the acting is awful. It's just atrocious. Like Old, go watch that movie.
Oh, God.
Oh yeah,
telling
yeah.
you-
That was weird because you never know when you see how bad it is. You're like, is this on purpose? Like Mark Wahlberg's performance in The Happening is like comedic, and like there's a
Yep.
scene where like you see the boom mic coming down, and I'm like, is this like a joke or something like on us? Like what
Maybe
is
it
this?
was like, I don't know.
It's
like, because-
weird.
Yeah, he's like,
Like there's
"Take an
no way
interesting-
Mark Wahlberg acted that way.
Didn't that thing make a ton
There's
of
a-
money when it came out, too? I think it did very well.
Well, dude, the trailer was sick. All of a sudden, the trailer's like the scariest movie you've ever seen, and all of a sudden, this fucking body is like it's rain coming down the sky. I'm like, what is this? This is insane. And you went to go see it, and you're like, what the hell's going on? They show that scene for like a second, and the rest of the movie, it's like wind on the freaking leaves or whatever.
The
Like,
biggest joke of that movie, though, was having fucking Mark Wahlberg be a science teacher. I'm like, talk about miscasting. He's like, come on, guys, take an interest in science. And you're just
Oh my God.
like, what?
Somebody mentioned,
the
though,
worst.
I don't remember if we did this or not. 2002 would be a good year to go back and do one of these year in reviews on. Hey,
Actually, it's funny you say that because I started a year in review series, and I've done 2000, 2001. I was hoping to get 2002, 2003 in before we did this show, but I didn't. So, I mean, we can go back and do that if you want to continue this. If people like it, we can just continue the series that I have already and just either do it by twos, like two years at a time. And then 2004, since it's 20 years from where we are, we can just leave it as its own standalone. I guess we'd have to see how many movies came out, but I'm willing to continue to do it this way.
And we've done, since we started the show, so the very first episode of Dead Pit was a 2005 year in review, and this was like in 2005. But like, we've got a collection up on the Patreon page that has, like, because we did retro ones too. So, Uncle Bill, how many years have we done so far? Including this one.
Oh my God, I have no idea, man.
This is 25. 25
Wow.
years.
That's fucking. I would have
That's-
never guessed that amount. No.
Yeah, the collection on the Patreon page, you can go back and it's like some of them was video, a lot of them was on the original radio show. So I thought that was kind of interesting that that's part of a collection now on the Patreon page. But Garrett, what do you got coming up on Born to Be Rad the next little bit? Promote some stuff here.
Yeah, I have a couple videos in the can already. I'm just editing them and we'll put them out. You'll see one on Saturday. So CK and I just recorded one the other night talking about the importance in the horror DVD collecting for two releases, and that was Monster Squad and Night of the Creeps. So we talk heavily about when those things hit DVD and how huge that was for us collectors. And we kind of tell the backstory, and there's some cool little tidbits we were able to uncover about those editions, which is pretty cool. So if you like kind of physical media history talk, definitely check that out. I also did another one on physical media history talking about the story of Fright Night 2 on physical media. What came out, why it hasn't come out again and just the story behind that. And it's got a lot of cool, again, tidbits, and there was some research done and whatnot talking about that. And definitely is one to check out, because we also kind of touch upon where it is now and if we think we'll ever see it again. And I have a special guest on that one as well too, so you're going to want to check that out. That one in one of those will drop Saturday. I'm not sure which one yet. I'm still kind of working it out, but come to find out, Night of the Creeps anniversary is today. So I'm thinking maybe that one would be a good one to put out this week because of the anniversary that it just had. So, I mean, I guess it all depends. And then I got, like I said, I was going to do the 2002, 2003 year in review show of the best of 2000s horror. And always something coming up. But those are the big three that I'm working on right now.
Well, I know that on the Dead Pit channel, we've been doing a lot of videos and streams and stuff about this time period, 20 years ago. Last week we did on the Friday Night Live show, the Fangoria's 101 best horror movies you've never seen. It was a big book that came out at the time, covered all those. Also did our first horror convention. We did a video on that where we actually found video footage from that show, and that one's really cool. But you and Uncle Bill have got something planned coming up this fall about another big thing that came out around this time period. You guys want to talk about that?
Yeah, I think it's actually perfect timing too. We have discussed it and we have been kind of putting it off a little bit, but now is like the perfect time, because 20 years ago, this October, Bravo released that show, 100 Scariest Movie Moments. And UB and I think last year did the Shudder one. Remember, we broke it down and we did every Sunday night, we do like a different episode talking about their list and then us kind of critiquing their lists. And it was actually pretty funny if you guys want to go watch some of those episodes, because, there's a lot of stuff in there that we were really confused on why they fell in certain spots, certain things were missing and whatnot. But bring it back 20 years to the Bravo one, which I think was kind of the originator of this whole thing.
Oh,
and yeah, I think it's going to be cool to talk about that 20 years ago, what they thought the 100 scariest movie moments were. And we'll kind of critique that as well and see if we still kind of agree with them and whatnot. So it's definitely going to be cool to go back in time, because I'm sure UB remembers when that came out. That was a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I can't believe that was 20 years ago. It's fucking
Great.
crazy. But that was like one of the first ones like that I remember. The big, talking heads listing down kind of shows of of horror movie moments and things like that. And I know I've watched it. Luckily, I can't remember any of the placements of anything except number one. I do remember what that was, but that's going to be great, because I'm going into it completely kind of like blank as to what they did around that time. And so many movies have came along now, but I'm curious to see if that time capsule, what they saw as being like the scariest movie moments. And those countdown shows are always fun, because you get to see somebody else's take on films that you've talked about, 100 times usually. So that'll be great.
You know what I think is going to be fun about this one? Yeah, I think what's going to be fun about this one is one of the biggest gripes we had with the Shudder one is that now in 2024, they're going back and talking about these movies, but we live in a very different world now. So everybody was very nervous, right? Remember when they talked about Last House, they're like, it's got these movies, it's got these scary parts, but we don't condone this movie. We
was where
we don't like it anymore. But
I think that was where the whole thing, I'm a good person. I just want
we're
to
good. We're still good people, even though we're talking about this and Cannibal Holocaust, but we're good people. But 2002, it's going to be this movie rules. Everybody's
That's
going
exactly
to be
what it'll be like.
Down with it. That's what I think is going to be the most exciting, is to see how hyped they talk about these movies, where now I think people will kind of try to give you a little bit, but not be too excited about Last House or I Spit on Your Grave or whatever. But back then it was it was awesome.
Yeah, this will be a different energy.
This was back when everybody didn't get offended at any little thing.
Right, 100%. So that's going to be the funnest part, I think, going back and doing that. And again, 20 years, it's just nuts to think about. 20 years ago this October, that thing debuted. So it's going to be a fun time. And we're going to do it every Sunday. We're going to do parts, and it's going to lead from the end of September all the way to Halloween. So I think it's going to be about 5 to 6 shows, so it should be cool.
Very cool. And another series we're doing is coming to an end. We've got 2 more of these shows coming up. The next show is on this Sunday, the Cruel Summer Slashback, man. Unfortunately, summer's coming to an end.
Rapidly around here.
Yeah, it's like 50 degrees outside right now. It's so weird. But anyway, we're taking a look at, I don't know if these are a couple of bangers or not. What do you think, Uncle Bill?
I don't think they are.
Oh, baby.
Let me tell you, though, they may not be bangers, but they certainly are like unique. I will say that. Yeah.
Yeah, we're taking a look at Axe from 1973 and A Day of Judgment from 1981. Oh,
Have you watched Axe yet, by the way?
I tried to watch some of it. It reminded me a lot of Silent Night, Bloody Night, the opening part. I was like, what the fuck is this?
Dude, you just gotta keep watching it.
Keep it on.
It's so bad.
What's bad is it's like, it's only like 60 minutes, the movie, but the opening credits are like 4 minutes.
It's like Crazy Fat Ethel bad. That's what I could say about it. Like that's
Is it got like a lot of closing, like 10 minutes closing credits?
It probably does. Yeah, it's barely a movie.
But yeah,
you know what you got to talk about when you're talking about these slasher movies you guys have been doing? You're just gonna say we've been watching bangers after bangers after bangers. After bangers.
You know, Seamus does follow us on Instagram. We're sort of the big deal.
Because you're doing the banger reviews.
The Celtic Warrior. And also, you knew I was going to do this, didn't you, Uncle Bill? Into the Pit, themovie.com. We have the only remaining copies of this thing on DVD. Signed or unsigned. Get yours today. Into the Pit, themovie.com. But it's been a fun show, guys. I appreciate everybody joining us on here. We've had quite a crowd in here, and we're talking movies, and we had a pretty good crowd in here. So that's great as well. Also, like, I do want to mention there's a lot of sales coming up. I'm not certain on the scheduling of these Vinegar Syndrome sales, but we may do something for that too. I think that's next week. I don't know.
Is it?
I don't know what they're doing exactly. Maybe they'll send some emails out and let us know. Their marketing department sucks about that sort of thing. But
well, I helped them with the sale, so I should probably know this.
It's the Rad Summer Sale, right? Or the Rad Labor Day Sale.
The Rad Labor Day Sale, yeah. Yeah, so I should probably check on it to see what's going on with that. Yeah.
They're $100.
I'll talk to my boys over at Vinegarson and ask them about that Rad sale.
There you go.
VNCing.
Yeah, we'll try to be extra radical for whatever that sale is. We'll see what we can wear, right? Uncle Rad might show back up. Who knows?
You never know.
Who's to say?
One thing's for sure, nothing for sure.
That's right. The only thing for sure about Uncle Rad is he's rad, and there's nothing that's for sure.
Yeah.
Uncle Rad should like rappel from the fucking wall like Sting and just laying in the seat. I wish I could figure out how to do that. I mean, I wish Uncle Rad could figure out how to do that.
I mean, that maybe you can do something in that addition that you're still working on. Can you hook a cable up?
Yeah, I gotta knock the ceiling out next. That's
like a double decker.
He's going up.
Yeah, he's going up. There'll be stairs, and up above you is where all your movies are. You've got like a second story. Yeah. It's like a ladder that goes up. That'd be so
revolving shelves and shit. Yeah.
But yeah,
Bat cave.
Guys, I appreciate everybody joining us on here, everybody in the chat and everything. Also, I don't want to forget about this. Lots of stuff to promote. The debut of the Euro Crypt podcast is on Saturday night at 8 p.m. And the special guest, Mahaya's favorite son, Jay Real, is going to be on there talking about 3 movies that he has never seen. I think they're Euro or cult or crypt related movies. So
look, Dirk, I'm going to tell you right now, buddy, you need to get me on that show. Like, I want to be on Euro Crypt.
Uncle Bill's special guest on the next show, maybe.
Come on now.
So, we appreciate Dirk and Darren both doing the new podcast and keeping Saturday nights, fresh and popping. So, didn't want to forget about that. But borntobirad.com, check it out and be sure to check us out. We're over at deadpit.com. Yeah, yeah. I'd like to tell people, thumbs up the video, Uncle Bill.
Would you?
Yes. Thumbs it up with violence and fury and just love everything about it, right, Uncle Bill?
Yeah. You hit the heart button, then you hit the ass button, then you hit the go fuck yourself button. Follow that up with the I don't give a shit button.
There's all kinds of wonderful shirts over at shop.deadpit.com. Simply the best horror shirts. On TeePublic, there are others, but they all suck. You can get some Dead Pit radio shirts. You can get Last South on the Left. The Hills Have Eyes. Texas Chainsaw. Oh, wait, you can't say Texas Chainsaw. All kinds of shirts, folks. You're gonna love them. Shop.deadpit.com.
Special thanks goes out to our supporters on Patreon. Do you know what kind of stuff you can get on Patreon, Uncle Bill, starting at only $1 a month?
What's that?
Access to every Dead Pit show since 2005. We got almost 200 fan commentaries that we've done over the decades.
We have a literal jukebox full of songs and thousands of reviews. I don't even know how many shows are up on there now that we've done over the years.
Hundreds of thousands.
You need to figure this out now and subscribe to us on Patreon and YouTube and Instagram and help us to 1 million. The road to 1 million subscribers starts today.
So deadpitonpatreon.com. Join today. Tiers start at only $1, but I'd recommend at least the $10 tier.
You can do 50. The stock market's crashing around us, folks, but send us money.